Good evening, everyone. Welcome to your own platform. We call it as exaMnorM. Today, I welcome you all in a very important session, which is a marathon session, or we call it as a final marathon session for your upcoming RBI Grade B examination, where I will be discussing all the important circulars from the month of January till month of June presented by RBI, and all these circulars, all these notifications are really very important for your upcoming examination. So without any further delay, let's get started with the discussion. But before I start, may I have a reply in the comment section that I'm audible, visible, everything is fine, we are good to go, so that we can begin the discussion without any further delay. आज का सेशन काफी लंबा रहने वाला, so I want you to stay tight with me till the end of this session, because in the end I have included the questions from the month of June as well, which have the high probability that they can be asked in the upcoming examination itself. If you haven't hit the like button yet, I would request you quickly hit the like button. If you haven't shared the link of this session yet, I would request you to share the link of this session with your friends, because this is the most important session for your upcoming RBI Grade B examination. And obviously, for every question, you will be getting the mind norm, and I will be discussing each and every mind norm for every question, so that I'm not only covering a question, you get the holistic coverage of each and every notification, circular or master direction which has been presented by RBI in the past. ठीक है जी? I hope we are good to go. I hope we are good to go. You are ready, and I am pretty sure कि आप लोग भी आज सोच के आए हैं कि आज की क्लास थोड़ी लंबी जरूर होगी, एंड यू विल स्टे विद मी टिल द एंड ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर वीडियो. क्योंकि ऑब्वियसली आज अगर आपने इस वीडियो को एंड तक नहीं देखा, एंड इफ यू आर प्लानिंग दैट यू विल वॉच इट इन द रिकॉर्डेड फॉर्मेट, तो ट्रस्ट मी गाइस, यू वोंट गेट टाइम टू वॉच इट इन द रिकॉर्डेड फॉर्मेट. तो हमेशा वो मिस होगा, और मिस होने के बाद व्हेन यू विल सिट इन द एग्जामिनेशन, देन यू विल रियलाइज कि काश अगर वो वीडियो उस दिन देख ली होती तो इट वुड हैव बीन अ बेनिफिशियल सिनेरियो फॉर मी. So don't miss it. Let's get started. Here we go with the discussion. Let's get started with the first question of the session. The first question talks about, with reference to the RBI directions on asset classification, provisioning, income recognition, consider the following statements. I hope we all know that RBI has come up with certain announcements. So let's first discuss all about these announcements. So objective is basically to strengthen the resilience, transparency and consistency of banking sector and align it with the global standards. If I say global standards, first change which has been done, that is with respect to the RWA. So in case of RWA calculation, the risk for a particular loan or for a particular financial asset will not be internally calculated by the bank. Rather it will be depending upon the standard risk weights which has been provided under Basel norms. Along with this, the next point we have is NPA declaration. तो सर NPA declaration के लिए कोई changes नहीं किए. The 90 days वाला जो format है, it stays as it is for agriculture loan as well as for the credit lines, for the credit or for the overdraft limits. The criteria remains the same. Along with that, after 90 days, the loan will be declared as substandard asset under the category of NPA. For 12 months, it will remain there. Then it will become doubtful asset, and then it will become loss asset. Loss asset में जाने से पहले, the loan will stay in the category of doubtful asset for at least 12 months. ये condition है which you need to remember. Second is expected credit loss. Earlier, the calculation was done on the losses which are going to happen, but now the calculation is going to be done in a new way, where we are going with the format of expected credit loss. And in case of expected credit loss, it will be calculated on the basis of possibility of default, on the basis of actual loss which you are going to bear in case of loan turning into NPA, keeping in mind the recovery which can be done with the help of the security or the collateral you have. Along with this, the provisioning will be done on the basis of stages. So where here we have stage 1, where the provisioning will be done for 1 year, or keeping in mind the losses related to 1 year. Then stage 2 is lifetime, and stage 3 also calls for lifetime loss and lifetime reserves are need to be maintained. So these are the basic things which you need to रिमेंबर, ठीक है। अब इसमें और क्या क्या चीजें हैं सर, अगर आप देखें ध्यान से तो ईसीएल कैलकुलेशन में वी हैव probability of default, we have loss given default as well as exposure at the time of default. In case of special provision, for example, in case of fraud, 100% provisioning is need to be done. This is something which you need to remember. Along with this, out of this entire format, you must be aware of the scenario कि भैया जो NPA calculations हैं, they haven't changed. The criteria for the NPA declaration as well as its subcategories, they remain the same. For the subcategories, they remain the same. ठीक है. If I talk about the staging model, stage 1, no significant increase in credit risk. So provisioning will be with respect to 12-month of ECL. Then in stage 2, it will be lifetime ECL, and stage 3 also it will be lifetime ECL. This is something which you need to remember. Next is collateral treatment. Recovery from the collateral must be considered. That is amount as well as timing. Exposure, if it is greater than 2 crores, then every 2 years the review of the collateral is need to be done. In case of stock, it is need to be done on yearly basis, and in case of other exposures, the decided or it will be decided by the bank that how and when the review is need to be done. Then we have effective interest rate. This is very important. The third part is effective interest rate. What it basically says, effective interest rate basically talks about कि भैया अगर आपने लोन दिया और उस लोन के बदले में एज अ बैंक यू आर नॉट रिसीविंग द इंटरेस्ट, दैट विल नॉट बिकम द पार्ट ऑफ योर इनकम. That will not become the part of your income. First thing, this has been done. Second thing, in case of effective interest rate, it has said that the lending rate which has been asked by the bank to pay against the loan, along with that, the charges you have paid initially for receiving the loan, those charges will be added as per the lending rate and the percentage value will be calculated. For example, अगर आपका lending rate 10% है और उस पे आपका खर्चा हुआ लेट्स से 1 लाख रुपए और आपका लोन था 1 करोड़ का, तो 1% आपका एक्सपेंस हो गया फॉर रिव्यू ऑफ द डॉक्यूमेंट्स एंड ऑल. सो ओवरऑल द interest rate is going to be 11% per annum. So that is known as effective interest rate, which will be applicable on new loans from 1st April 2027, and it will be applicable for the existing loans as well. It will come into 100% picture from 31st of March 2030. ठीक है. अगर मैं बात करूं existing NPAs, so NPAs as on 31st March 2027 will not get automatic benefit, but they will remain NPA till the borrower generally resolves the issue. Only then can move to the better category under ECL. तो जो categories हैं NPA वाली, जो तो already NPA में है, they will be following the same, but the new categories which will get into the category of NPA, or the new loans which get into the category of NPA from 1st of April 2027, उनके लिए ये जो calculation है that will be on the basis of staging model as set. ठीक है. क्लियर हो गई बात, समझ आ गया पॉइंट. आई गेस ईच एंड एवरी पॉइंट इज क्लियर. नाउ लेट्स ट्राई टू सॉल्व द क्वेश्चन. Directions introduced a staging framework under the expected credit loss approach while retaining the existing NPA classification norms. Absolutely correct. Under the ECL framework, stage 1 assets require provisioning based on lifetime. No sir, it is required provisioning based on 12 months ECL. Payment banks and small finance banks are covered under the applicability of these directions. सर अगर मैं बात करूं पेमेंट बैंक और स्मॉल फाइनेंस बैंक की, तो यहां पे आप ध्यान से देखिए the applicability of this particular norm is applicable on all commercial banks, State Bank of India, corresponding new banks as well, but it is not applicable on small finance bank, payment banks as well as local area banks. So this is also wrong. Moving on to the next point. A final asset may be classified as NPA if interest or principal is overdue for 90 days. Correct. Under ECL framework, interest income for stage 3 asset is recognized on accrual basis. No sir, कोई accrual basis पे कुछ नहीं है. अगर आपको actually में interest receive होगा, then only it will become income. If you are not receiving the interest, it won't be added on any basis. So answer to this particular question is going to be only 1 and 4. That means C statement is the correct answer. बोलो clear है? बोलो clear है? If it is clear, give me yes sir so that I can move ahead. I think this much detail is more than sufficient. इससे ज़्यादा डिटेल में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है, और इतनी डिटेल में अगर हम कवर करेंगे, we will be able to answer the questions in the examination. अगला question, now it's on your screen. What does the question says? So the next question is related to the next question is related to the statement of concept regarding the designated settlement bank. अब ये जो designated settlement bank था, ये term आई कहां से, ये point आया कहां से? अगर मैं इस point पे चलूं तो इस point पे मेरा आंसर यहाँ पे क्या होगा? Sir, it is basically the master direction given by RBI, that is access criteria for NDS-OM 2025. अब उसे update किया गया in April 2026. So what is this direction all about? Sir, RBI has defined that who can access NDS-OM platform, and this is the platform where the trading of government securities is done in the secondary market. NDS-OM is a digital system which is used for trading of government securities. Since these securities, they form a critical part of India's financial system, so RBI regulates the access to ensure safety, transparency and orderly function of this particular market. Remember that it was introduced on 27th of April 2026, and earlier if you want to be the part of this platform, you need to apply to RBI, but now the application will be sent only and only through Prabaha portal, which stands for Platform for Regulatory Application, Valuation and Authorization. I repeat, Platform for Regulatory Application, Valuation and Authorization. If I talk about the legal aspect behind it, so as per RBI Act 1934 and Section 45, the power is given to RBI to regulate the financial market where the trading of government securities is done. Now moving on to the point, that is final authority of RBI. So RBI decision in granting, rejecting or terminating the access to NDS-OM is final. You cannot challenge RBI in near future. So if I talk about the overall understanding, that is very much clear that if you want to be the part of this NDS-OM, you need to seek permission from RBI. In order to seek permission from RBI, you cannot approach physically. You have to approach through a platform, that is Prabaha portal. Now, any individual with a demat account maintained with SEBI registered depository can invest in government securities. Stockbrokers wishing to provide this facility, they should be registered with SEBI, and they have an arrangement with the clearing member of CCIL who will handle the settlement obligations. RBI retain full authority to suspend or terminate this facility of the broker if broker violates any rule or engages in any kind of misconduct or poses a risk to the financial system. Brokers, they must strictly follow all the RBI and CCIL guidelines, which are really very important. Now the point over here is direct access. What I'm trying to talk about in case of direct access, so the direct access is granted to the institutions that are large and regulated institutions such as banks, NBFCs, mutual funds, insurance companies, pension fund companies. They can directly access this platform, that is NDS-OM. Essential requirement is that institute must have a security account with RBI where it keeps its security deposit. We call it as subsidiary general ledger account, an account maintained by RBI for holding the government securities in electronic form. It is used to store government security and for settlement of security transactions. This is something important. So first is you need to have SGL account. Second is you have a current account with RBI or with a designated settlement bank. And third is be a member of security settlement segment of CCIL. Remember that direct access is not transferable. RBI may impose additional conditions if required, and RBI may suspend or terminate the access whenever needed. Indirect access is designed to allow broader participation. So entities which are not eligible under the direct access, they can now go with the indirect access. The intermediaries execute trades on the behalf of the participants and assume full responsibility for the settlement. So you will be going to an intermediary. That intermediary will be conducting the transaction on your behalf, and all the settlement process will be done by them itself. It reduces the operational burden on smaller entities because they can access the market and not directly but indirectly with the help of a mediator, which will take care of all the transactions which are ought to be done. Even these entities eligible for direct access may choose indirect access if it is convenient. Agar aap eligible hai for direct, then also you can go with indirect access. There is no need, there is no requirement of any kind of issue. Agar aapko lagta hai indirect jana, to indirect ja sakte hai, RBI mana nahi karta. A designated bank is appointed by Clearing Corporation of India to facilitate settlement of funds of obligation. क्या ये पॉइंट सही है? Is this point correct? Is this point correct? So the answer to this particular question is absolutely correct. अगर मैं designated settlement bank की बात करूं, what is designated settlement bank? कि सर मान लो एक entity है, this entity do not possess this entity do not possess a current account with RBI. So in that case, this entity will involve a designated settlement bank which has a current account with RBI in order to make the transaction, in order to make the settlement. So that is known as designated settlement bank, and it is appointed by Clearing Corporation of India Limited. That is correct. Only entities maintaining a current account they can access. No sir, you can access using the designated bank or designated settlement bank. So only entities maintaining a current account with RBI can use. नहीं सर, जिनके पास current account है उनको इसकी जरूरत ही नहीं है, उनको इसकी जरूरत ही नहीं है. एक्चुअली में ये जो जरूरत है ये किसकी है सर? जिनके पास करंट अकाउंट नहीं है. कहां पे? आरबीआई में. Moving on to the next, a designated settlement bank act as an intermediary for entities do not have direct access. That is correct. A designated settlement bank is responsible for executing trade on the behalf of the entities. No sir, it is only responsible for settlement, not for the trade purpose. The use of designated bank enables wider participation. Obviously अगर मेरे पास current account नहीं है, still I can access the RBI the government securities issued by RBI. Obviously इससे access बढ़ेगा ना, access बढ़ने से participation बढ़ेगा. So that is correct. So answer to this particular question is A option. I hope it is clear. I hope it is clear. If it is clear, just give me yes sir. मजा आ रहा है? I hope you are enjoying. If you are enjoying, just give me yes sir. Let's move on to the next question. The next question talks about with reference to e-mandate framework which is regulated by Reserve Bank of India. If I talk about the e-mandate framework, इसका मतलब क्या है सर? e-mandate या उससे पहले अगर मैं mandate वर्ड की बात करूं, mandate is the approval you give for the future auto debits or for the future auto transactions, and if you are giving the same approval through electronic medium, we call it as e-mandate. And right now in case of auto debit e-mandate, it is allowed up to 15,000 only. If you want to have auto debit of more than 15,000, then you have to go to the bank's branch in order to initiate this e-mandate. Now let's check out. E-mandate framework has been introduced. It basically governs automatic or repeated payments made through the card, prepaid payment instruments, UPI, whether the transaction is domestic or it is cross-border. This is important. So it is applicable on all the banks, all the system, all the payment system providers and payment system participants that process recurring transactions through cards, PPI or UPI. That means everybody, whosoever you are dealing with today, is eligible under the same. Now, if I talk about the registration and revocation of e-mandate, customer must complete one-time registration process. Mandate registered only after successful validation using additional factor of authentication. मतलब क्या कि जब आप e-mandate करेंगे, then they will ask you your password as well as they will ask you to enter the OTP or any other additional factor they are looking forward for. Every mandate must maintain a validity period, that it is valid for 1 year, 2 year, whatsoever it is. Issuer must provide facility to change validity period or withdraw the mandate at any time. That means for example I'm using PhonePe, तो PhonePe को मुझे वो कैपेसिटी देनी होगी कि मैं जब चाहूं इस ऑटो डेबिट को, इस ट्रांजैक्शन के फॉर्मेट को, इस फ्लो को बंद कर सकता हूं. बोथ फिक्स्ड अमाउंट एज वेल एज वेरिएबल अमाउंट मैंडेट्स आर अलाउड. फॉर एग्जांपल मैंने एक इंटरनेशनल ट्रांजैक्शन की है, क्रॉस बॉर्डर ट्रांजैक्शन, आई हैव टू मेक द पेमेंट्स इन डॉलर्स. तो भैया डॉलर का प्राइस रुपी के साथ रोज चेंज हो रहा है, तो ट्रांजैक्शन वैल्यू कैन नॉट बी फिक्स्ड. So that will be also allowed under the e-mandate criteria, but it should be up to 15,000. That is a condition. Customer must choose preferred mode for pre-transaction notification. That means you want SMS or email or both before the debit is ought to be done. Any change in mandate cancellation must again pass through AFA validation. So if you are changing in mandate or if you are cancelling the mandate, then you have to again go with the additional factor of authentication. Processing क्या होगी सर? First transaction under the e-mandate must be authenticated with AFA. तो जो आपकी पहली transaction, it should be done under AFA. After that, once you have given the AFA in the first transaction, after that all the transactions will be done automatically. There will be no additional factor of authentication required. Pre-transaction notifications must include the name of the merchant. For example, मेरा Netflix है तो Netflix का नाम आएगा, amount कितनी debit होने वाली है, date and time, e-mandate reference number as well as reason for debit. Customer must be given easy way to opt out of that, because you are given this notification 24 hours before the debit is ought to be done, because these debits are always the future debits, or these are the advance payments. So you can stop it whenever required, and you opt out must be validated. If you're opting out, it must be validated by additional factor of authentication. तो change कर रहे हो तो, initiate कर रहे हो तो, पहली ट्रांजेक्शन है तो, ऑप्ट आउट कर रहे हो तो, यू हैव टू गो विद एडिशनल factor of authentication, but pre-transaction notice is not required in case of FASTag as well as NCMC. Moving on to the post-transaction. So once the transaction is done, then also you will get an update in the form of SMS email, which will include again the merchant name, amount, date and time, transaction reference number, e-mandate reference number, reason for debit, and grievance redressal details. If you are not satisfied, you can apply here or you can post here. Transaction limit and velocity check. If your transaction is up to 15,000, recurring transactions can be processed without AFA. But again, if it is above 15,000, then you have to require AFA, and that will be required in every transaction. Secondly, if you want it without requiring every transaction approval, then you have to go to the bank physically in order to increase the limit above 15,000. Up to 1 lakh per transaction in case of insurance premium, mutual fund subscriptions or credit card bill payment can also be allowed through e-mandate, which is above 1 lakh, but for the certain transaction, for the certain conditions only. Dispute resolution, RBI rules on customer liability for unauthorized digital transaction also apply to recurring payment under e-mandate. तो ये rules उस पे भी apply होते हैं. Unauthorized, incorrect or disputed debits must have a formal path. There will be a link पे click करो, अपनी complaint raise करो, and it will be registered. ठीक है. इसके अलावा earlier this mandate was 2,000, then it was allowed to 5,000, and now it has increased to 25,000. And if you want to go for it, then you have to follow the rules which have been mentioned. It is applicable on domestic as well as international transactions. Now let's read out the question. E-mandate allows automatic recurring payments without requiring manual intervention each time. This is correct. Registration of an e-mandate requires authentication using an additional factor of authentication. Correct. Pre-transaction notification is mandatory for all type of transactions without exception. No sir, this is wrong, क्योंकि फास्टैग के केस में या फिर अगर मैं NCMC के केस में बात करूं, there is no pre-information sent. Customers can modify or cancel the e-mandate anytime, that is allowed. Recurring transactions above 15,000 require additional authentication every time, that is also correct. So answer to this particular question is 1, 2, 4 and 5 are correct, which means A option is absolutely the correct answer. ठीक है जी, clear हुआ. Moving on to the next question. अगला क्वेश्चन देखते हैं. The next question is with reference to the non-banking financial companies branch authorization directions 2025, which means that if we are talking about an NBFC, and if NBFC wants to open up a new branch, some of the NBFCs are allowed by RBI to open up the branch without RBI approval, and there are certain conditions that where you can open up your branches. So we will be discussing about this detail. Please pay attention. So in this case, first point is opening of branches in India as well as abroad. What all approvals are required? So in this case, it has been very clearly mentioned that these directions are applicable on all NBFCs, except NBFCs such as mortgage guarantee companies, standalone primary dealers, NBFC peer-to-peer, NBFC account aggregator as well as NOFHC. For them, these directions are not applicable. Rest all the NBFCs are included under the same. Next point is factor of authentication. One security check used to confirm that identity is done or not. So that is required. Coming to the second point, that is ये जो terms है related to branch, related to factors of authentication, issuer or merchant, that is basically talking about the NBFC's day-to-day operations. But जो हमारा major concern है, that is related to chapter 2. It talks about opening of branches. It says that an opening of branches in India, an NBFC generally allowed to open up branches without RBI approval, unless specifically restricted. But a deposit taking NBFC can open branches based on following conditions. तो यहाँ पे बहुत clear कर दिया कि if you are an NBFC and you are a non-deposit taking NBFC, you can open a branch without RBI approval. There is no need to go to RBI to get approval in order to open up this branch. ये बिल्कुल clear कर दिया. अब यहाँ पे point दूसरा क्या आता है? सर दूसरा point यहाँ पे ये है कि सर अगर आप एक deposit taking NBFC हैं, then what all conditions you have to fulfill? If the net owned fund of the NBFC is up to 50 crores or the credit rating is below AA, then you can open up the branch. You can open up the branch or appoint the agent only within the state where the registered office is located. If your net owned fund is more than 50 crores and your credit rating is greater than AA, then you can open up the branches all over the country. If your net owned fund is above 50 crores but credit rating is below AA, then you can open a branch only in the home state, that is for the deposit taking NBFCs. Now, if you want to close the branch, then in that case, you must give at least 3 months prior notice to the public before closing any branch, and this notice should be published in one national newspaper, one local newspaper, and clearly stating the purpose and arrangements for the customers कि भैया अगर हम ये ब्रांच बंद कर रहे हैं तो आप दूसरी ब्रांच पे आके अपने भैया डे टू डे ट्रांजेक्शंस को कर लेना, कोई टेंशन वाली बात नहीं है. ठीक है. Now if you want to open up a branch outside India, firstly RBI do not allow NBFCs to open a branch outside India. RBI says that if you want to open up, it will be a representative office which will not get involved in the financial transactions. You need to take prior approval from RBI. Pravaha portal पे apply करो, then only once you receive the approval, then only you will be allowed to open up a representative office where you will be performing liaison work or market research or similar activities, but you cannot undertake any financial transaction or fund activities as stated. So the parent NBFC must regularly obtain reports on the activities of these offices. तो भैया जो offices आपके इंडिया से बाहर काम कर रहे हैं उनसे डे टू डे बेसिस पे अपडेट लेते रहो कि क्या चल रहा है क्या नहीं. इससे पहले के जो भी लॉस थे with respect to opening up of branches that have been replaced, now on the basis of these conditions, NBFC is allowed to open up a branch without RBI approval, but if restricted specifically, then you need approval. If you want to open a branch outside India, again you need approval. If you are a deposit taking NBFC, then also you need approval from RBI, and once the approval is given, then only you will be allowed to open up the branch. Bolo ji, clear hogi point? Is this point clear? Is this point clear? If it is clear, just give me yes sir. If it is clear, just give me yes sir. Let's discuss the question. All NBFCs can open branches in India without RBI prior approval unless specifically restricted. अगर मैं कहूँ एक हद तक ये आंसर सही है, all NBFCs, क्योंकि अगर all NBFCs की बात करें in general it is correct, but for deposit taking NBFCs this point is not correct. So it is not 100% correct. Let's take a point of doubt कि क्या करना है. Deposit taking NBFCs with net owned fund above 50 crores and credit rating below AA can open up branches anywhere in India. नहीं सर, अगर आपकी रेटिंग AA से कम है, only home state. NBFCs are generally not permitted to open up branches abroad except certain grandfathered cases. That is correct. RBI approval is required for opening representative office abroad. That is correct. These directions override all the other existing laws applicable to NBFCs. No sir, these directions only and only override those directions which are related to opening up the branches. So keeping this in mind, this is also incorrect, but I'll take this point as correct. So answer to this question as per this context will be A statement. ठीक है जी, clear हो गया. Let's move on to the next question. अगला question क्या कहता है सर? With reference to the RBI non-resident investment in debt instruments, consider the following statements. I would say कि अभी ये जो पॉइंट है ना, ये मैंने न्यूज ली है, इंटेंशनली मैंने ऊपर लिखा भी है. दिस न्यूज हैज बीन टेकन फ्रॉम द मंथ ऑफ अप्रैल, बट अब जून मंथ में इससे रिलेटेड एक चेंज हुआ है. तो मैं चाहता तो इस न्यूज को इग्नोर कर सकता था, बट आई हैव नॉट इग्नोर्ड इट बिकॉज आई वांट कि मैं आपको यहां भी समझाऊं, और अगली बार जब वो जून वाले में क्वेश्चन ये आएगा मैं तब भी आपको दोबारा समझाऊं. सो प्लीज बी विद मी बिकॉज आई डोंट नो व्हाई आई एम हैविंग दिस फीलिंग कि यहां से क्वेश्चन आने के चांसेस काफी ज्यादा ब्राइट है। सो क्वेश्चन के सॉल्यूशन पे नहीं जाते, डायरेक्टली आंसर पे जाते हैं। सो आंसर क्या कहता है कि सर अगर कोई एक फॉरेन इन्वेस्टमेंट है, ऑब्वियसली द फॉरेन पोर्टफोलियो इन्वेस्टर, बिकॉज इंडिविजुअल्स आर नॉट अलाउड टू इन्वेस्ट in the debt market, or the clear rule is not defined. So in that particular case, as a foreign portfolio investor, you can invest in India's debt market through different routes. One is voluntary retention route, then we have fully accessible route, and we have one more, that is general route. Recently voluntary retention route has been included under the category of general route only, we know that. And in case of general route, the limit is 6%, 2% and 5%, sorry, 15%. Tell me, is it correct? 6% for government securities, 2% for state government securities, and 15% for corporate bonds. इसके अलावा, in case of government securities, there were 3 restrictions which were earlier existing. Those 3 restrictions were single FPI up to 30% in short-term securities. Then overall FPI in single government security category, limit is 30%. I hope you're getting my point. And on the other side, if I talk about single FPI, if the FPI is long term, then your investment will be 15%, and if it is short term, then it will be, or other, then it will be 10%, है ना? I hope आपको ये सारी चीजें याद होंगी. But now this has been overruled. All these 3 restrictions have been removed by RBI. RBI ने कहा कि भैया अब इन restrictions की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. Only 6% will be taken into consideration. जितना चाहो, जहां चाहो, जब चाहो आओ और invest कर दो. This changes have been done recently in the month of June. Clear है? याद होगा, पढ़ा होगा, चीजें याद आ गई होंगी. अगर नहीं कुछ याद आ रहा तो प्लीज डाउट पूछ लेना, कोई जल्दी नहीं है. चाहे 12 बजे आज एक एक चीज को कवर करके चलेंगे. अंडर द जनरल रूट ओनली एफपीआईज आर अलाउड टू इन्वेस्ट. दैट इज करेक्ट, है ना? इसमें तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, होनी भी नहीं चाहिए. एफपीआई कैन इन्वेस्ट इन कॉर्पोरेट डेट ओनली इफ मेच्योरिटी इज मोर देन 1 year. Only if maturity is more than 1 year. No sir, that is wrong. You can invest in short term corporate debts as well. Say yes or no. There is a minimum maturity requirement for government security. For minimum maturity requirement in case of government securities, that is correct. You're wrong. बताओ आप लोग आंसर कर सकते हो. I want you guys to answer. Think of it. Which all statements are correct? Which all statements are correct? Take your time. Government security exposures. Short-term exposure in the government security is capped at 30%. था, अब change हो गया. Issue-wise cap in corporate debt is 50%. This is correct. जो कि पहले government के लिए issue-wise 30% था, but now it has also been removed. There is a minimum maturity requirement for government securities. बताओ ना यार, जल्दी से बताओ. Is there any minimum maturity requirement for government securities? चलो, नहीं समझ आ रहा, पढ़ लेते हैं. अगर हम बात करें यहाँ पे, here we have the government securities. So rules for government security: no minimum maturity for FPI. So no minimum maturity for FPI. So there is a minimum maturity for government securities. No, FPI can invest in corporate debt only if maturity is more than 1 year. Investment only allowed in maturity greater than 1 year. So that statement is correct. Under the general route only FPIs are allowed. Correct. So answer क्या होगा सर? A and B both are correct. Clear हो गई बात? समझ आ गया point? Is it clear? So there is no requirement of minimum maturity in case of government security, but yes, there is a minimum maturity required in case of corporate bond, that is 1 year. Under general route, who all can invest? If you can see under the general route, as it is very clearly mentioned, in general route, the investment can be done by FPIs. वेरी क्लियरली मेंशन 6%, 2%, 15%, और ये जितनी भी रिस्ट्रिक्शंस यहाँ पे लिखी हैं सर अब आपके लिए आसान हो गया, ये सारी की सारी रिस्ट्रिक्शंस रिसेंटली जून मंथ में आरबीआई ने हटा दी। ये आपके लिए फायदे की बात है, ये आपके लिए फायदे की बात है, ठीक है जी। वॉलंटरी रिटेंशन रूट को इंक्लूड कर लिया अंडर द कैटेगरी ऑफ जनरल रूट ओनली। इन केस ऑफ वॉलंटरी रिटेंशन रूट यू मस्ट इन्वेस्ट एटलीस्ट 75% ऑफ द कमिटेड अमाउंट विद इन 3 months एंड नो मिनिमम मेच्योरिटी रिक्वायरमेंट इज देयर। आप कितनी भी सिक्योरिटी में इन्वेस्ट करें, कोई भी मेच्योरिटी हो उसकी कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा। देयर इज नो इशू वाइज लिमिट एंड यू कैन यूज ऑफ रैपो और रिवर्स रैपो अप टू 10% ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट कैन बी डन। Exit option, full withdrawal after the retention period, or you can shift it to the general route or continue investment in the same even after the 3 years. There is no problem, but minimum 3 years you have to hold it. In case of fully accessible route, recently RBI has added many new securities, especially the sovereign gold bonds. They are also included under, sovereign green bonds are also included under the category of fully accessible route, so that we can have or we can witness increase in inward flow of investment by foreign countries through the fully accessible route as well. ठीक है, हाँ मतलब अप्रैल में था तो अब मैं आपको गलत थोड़ा ना बताऊंगा ना। अप्रैल में था, बिल्कुल था अप्रैल में ऐसा, लेकिन अब अप्रैल की चीज को अगर रिवाइज कर दिया तो मैंने क्वेश्चन वही रखा लेकिन उसका आंसर चेंज कर दिया। सो आंसर इज गोइंग टू बी ए एंड बी, अदरवाइज आंसर वुड हैव बीन ए बी एंड डी। सॉरी, इसका आंसर होगा ए बी एंड ई, ए बी एंड ई। अगर हम अप्रैल के हिसाब से देखते तो डी भी करेक्ट हो जाता, बट अब चेंज हो गया तो मैंने इसे एक्सक्लूड कर दिया। दैट इज अ पॉइंट। अरे बोलो, क्लियर है? तो लॉजिकल है ना, पहले ये बता दूं फिर कहूं नहीं 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 इसी क्लास में जून में चेंज हो गया, उसका क्या मतलब है, इसलिए मैंने इसको हटा दिया। दैट इज अ पॉइंट। चलो, with reference to the aspects of counterfeit notes, consider the following statements. So counterfeit notes बैंक ब्रांचेस में रिसीव होते हैं तो उसके लिए एक पूरा प्रोसेस है, that if you are receiving the counterfeit notes, what you have to do when you have to file an FIR, उस counterfeit note पे आपको स्टैम्प लगानी है as a counterfeit note and you have to provide a receipt to the depositor जो वो पैसा लेके आया था। तो जो पैसा आपके पास रिसीव हुआ उस पैसे को यू हैव टू इन्फॉर्म टू दी आरबीआई थ्रू योर रिपोर्ट एंड एफआईआर इफ रिक्वायर्ड। उसके साथ साथ बैंक शुड नॉट गेट इनटू द डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ काउंटरफेट नोट्स, यानी कि बैंक के डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन का मतलब एटीएम से अगर काउंटरफेट नोट्स विड्रॉ किए गए या फिर इवन अगर ब्रांच से ओवर द काउंटर काउंटरफेट नोट्स दिए गए, उसके अगेंस्ट भी process which has been discussed. Even the currency chest related conditions with respect to the receival of counterfeit notes, there are certain rules, there are certain regulations which have been announced. उन्हीं rules, उन्हीं regulations पे आज हम बात करेंगे, so please pay attention. So सबसे पहला point है अथॉरिटी ऑफ इम्पाउंड काउंटरफेट नोट्स। तो बैंक को बहुत क्लियरली कह दिया कि अगर आपके पास यू रिसीव अ काउंटरफेट नोट, इम्पाउंड करने के बाद उसमें स्टैंप लगा दो कि भैया ये नोट जो है दैट इज अ काउंटरफेट नोट। डिटेक्शन कैसे होगा? सो बैंक नोट्स हैंडल ओवर द काउंटर एंड दोज रिसीव्ड इन द बैंक ऑफिसेज और करेंसी चेस्ट थ्रू बल्क डिपॉजिट मस्ट बी चेक्ड यूजिंग द मशीन्स। If the counterfeit notes are found, no credit shall be given to the customer amount. Counterfeit notes are not to be returned to the customer, rather they are destroyed by the bank. ठीक, इन्वेस्टमेंट ठीक है, ये शायद कहीं गलत हो गया यहाँ पे, कॉपी पेस्ट, सॉरी फॉर दैट। ओके, अगला पॉइंट है डिटेक्शन ऑफ द काउंटरफेट नोट्स। इफ द डिटेक्शन इज अप टू 4 काउंटरफेट नोट्स इन अ ट्रांजेक्शन, देन कंसोलिडेटेड रिपोर्ट to the local police as well as nodal officer should be sent at the end of the month. But if you are receiving more than five or more than 5 counterfeit notes in a single transaction, if you can see right now, I guess in a single statement or in a single transaction, then you have to inform the police right away. You have to file the FIR right away. Copy of the monthly consolidated report or FIR should be sent to the FNV cell as well at the head office of the bank. Obtain acknowledgement from the police for the note sent. If sent by insured post, you must have the proof कि जो पैसा आप पुलिस को भेज रहे हैं for further verification, for further investigation. So you should have the proof कि I have handed over to the police. Covering bank hall area and counter under CCTV surveillance that is required. Watch for patterns, trends and suspicious activities. Progress and issues to be discussed in the meetings which are conducted on the district level. Data on the counterfeit notes detected to be included in the monthly returns to the कंसर्न्ड आरबीआई इशू ऑफिस. तो जो भी आपका कंसर्न्ड आरबीआई ऑफिस है उसे भी आपको मंथली रिपोर्ट देनी होगी कि क्या मिला इस बार, क्या कितने नोट्स मिले, क्या हुआ, कैसा था. ठीक है जी. उसके बाद अगर हम बात करें द नेक्स्ट पॉइंट इज designated nodal bank officer. Every bank must appoint a nodal bank officer district wise as a contact point for all activities related to the counterfeit notes. It inform the concerned RBI issue office and police authorities regarding this officer. Then we have bank notes of 100 rupees and above must not be put back into circulation until machine processed for authenticity. चाहे आपको देख के लगे नोट असली, आपको उसे मशीन से गुजारना ही पड़ेगा, मशीन अप्रूव करेगी तभी वो नोट दोबारा सर्कुलेशन में जाएगा. Proper safeguard is need to be taken to avoid any kind of counterfeit notes dispensation from the ATM. Counterfeit notes in the chest remittance may be treated as deliberate involvement and may lead to special investigation. अगर आपने आपकी करेंसी चेस्ट में, because bank is handling the currency chest on the behalf of RBI, and if there is a counterfeit note in the currency chest, it will be considered a deliberate act which has been conducted by the bank. All branches and identified bank officers, they use UV lamps and not sorting authentication machines. All currency chest branches, verification, processing and sorting machines are need to be there. Machines to comply with parameters have been already announced by RBI. You have to go with those standards. Daily record of notes processed and counterfeit notes detected to be maintained. Provide note counting machine with a dual display for public as well as for the counter. Establishment of FNV cell. So RBI instructions where RBI has asked to monitor and comply with the directions. So all the directions, all the related issues will be sent to RBI as well as FIU India as well as NCRB. Follow up cases with the police. Share the information with CVO. Report cases where the counterfeit notes are accepted. Remember that ensure only sorted machine note checks will be loaded in the ATM counters as well as at the time of over the counter. तो मशीन से सॉर्ट किए बिना नोट काउंटर पे भी डिस्ट्रीब्यूट नहीं होगा. Submit half yearly status report to the concerned RBI officers within 2 weeks and send FNV cell address in prescribed format to RBI office by April 15th each year. तो 6 months के बाद भी और yearly भी you have to share the report. ठीक है. तो ट्रेनिंग दी जाएगी, प्रिजर्वेशन, ठीक है, बाकी कुछ खास नहीं है. हाँ, ये देख लो, notes received back from police or court must be kept in safe custody by the branch and recorded. FNV cell to maintain consolidated branch-wise and chest-wise record. Verify every 6 months on 31st March and 30th September by office in charge कि भैया इतने notes आपके पास होने चाहिए थे, है या नहीं. You have to preserve those notes for 3 years from the date of receipt from police authentication or police authorities. If the part of court case, preserve for 3 years even after case ends. तो अगर तो आपको नोट पुलिस से आया 3 साल तक संभालना होगा. और अगर कोर्ट केस में वो नोट यूज हुआ था तो आपको उसे इवन आफ्टर द डिसीजन टेकन बाय द कोर्ट यू हैव टू प्रिजर्व इट फॉर 3 मोर ईयर्स. ठीक है जी, क्लियर हो गई बात. आई गेस मोटी मोटी बातें ये क्लियर होनी जरूरी है. एफएनवी सेल को आप कब रिपोर्ट करोगे? सो यू विल बी शेयरिंग द रिपोर्ट विद द एफएनवी सेल. यू विल बी शेयरिंग द रिपोर्ट विद द एफएनवी सेल every 6 months by 7th of next month. तो हर महीने की आपको रिपोर्ट देनी है और हर 7वें दिन आपको वो रिपोर्ट शेयर करनी होगी. हर 7वें दिन आपको वो रिपोर्ट शेयर करनी होगी. ठीक है, क्वेश्चन देखते हैं. काउंटरफिट नोट्स मस्ट बी इंपाउंडेड एंड स्टैम्प्ड एंड कैन नॉट बी रिटर्न्ड टू द टेंडर under any circumstances. Correct. If a bank fails to impound counterfeit notes, it is treated as deliberate involvement. Correct. In case of detection of 5 or more, you have to report right away, not monthly basis. You have to report right away. You have to file the FIR right away. Counterfeit notes dispensed through ATM are treated as a serious violation by bank and penalty will be charged. कितनी penalty उस पर भी बात करेंगे. Counterfeit foreign currency suspected by bank should be directly sent to RBI for verification. This is correct or not? ये बताओ जरा. अगर काउंटरफिट फॉरेन करेंसी है एंड दैट काउंटरफिट फॉरेन करेंसी is suspected by RBI, sorry, is suspected by bank, it should be sent directly to RBI for verification. No, sir, it will be sent directly to the RBI issue office. So, keeping that in mind, this statement would not be 100% correct. So, I'll go with A option 1, 2 and 4. अगर आप देखना चाहो तो यहाँ पे related to foreign currency भी कोई ना कोई point जरूर होगा. अब एक बार देखिएगा, फॉरेन करेंसी वाला पॉइंट जरूर होगा, इसमें लिखा होगा बहुत क्लियरली. ठीक है, नॉट डायरेक्टली टू आरबीआई, दैट इज करेक्ट. चलो अगले क्वेश्चन पे बढ़ते हैं. अगला क्वेश्चन क्या कहता है? सर, द प्रपोज फ्रेमवर्क इज रिलेटेड टू द ड्राफ्ट विच हैज बीन गिवन फॉर एनबीएफसी अपर लेयर. अगर आपको याद हो, पहले एनबीएफसी अपर लेयर की जो आइडेंटिफिकेशन थी, दैट वाज डन ऑन अ काइंड ऑफ रेटिंग बेसिस, ऑन अ काइंड ऑफ स्कोर बेसिस, बट नाउ इट हैज बीन रिप्लेस्ड एंड इट हैज बीन रिव्यूड. और इसे रिप्लेस करके सीधा बोल दिया, भैया जिसका एसेट साइज 1 लाख करोड़ से ज्यादा है, वी विल कंसिडर इट एज एन अपर लेयर एनबीएफसी. तो क्या है ये? सर, आरबीआई हैज गिवन अ ड्राफ्ट रिलेटेड टू upper layer NBFC which has been defined under scale based regulation. The draft comes up with a very clear identification which says NBFCs classified into base layer, middle layer and upper layer. In case of upper layer, it is based on scoring methodology which talks about size, interconnectedness, leverage and liabilities, as well as complexity and risk profile. Automatic inclusion is top 10 NBFCs by asset size, and RBI supervisory can include the other high risk NBFCs as well. लेकिन कुछ फिक्स नहीं था, कुछ कंडीशंस नहीं थी, लेकिन अब क्लियरली बोल दिया कि सर, अगर कोई NBFC है which has an asset size greater than 1 lakh crore, it will be added under the category of upper layer. तो यहाँ पे क्या था सर? कुछ कंडीशंस थी फॉर NBFC अपर लेयर: higher capital and leverage buffer, liquidity risk management, strong governance and board oversight, enhanced reporting and disclosure, stress testing and risk management, and minimum stay period is 5 years. These were some of the requirements which are ought to be fulfilled by upper layer NBFC. But अब चीजें बदली हैं. चीजें क्या कहती है? रिप्लेसमेंट ऑफ आइडेंटिफिकेशन मेथड. इट सेज दैट साइज और स्कोरिंग मेथड से सीधा आ गया असेट साइज कितना, 1 लाख करोड़ एंड अबव. क्लियर ऑब्जेक्टिव and transparent threshold has been given, and threshold reviewed will be done every 5 years. हर 5 साल के बाद आपकी asset size को रिव्यू किया जाएगा. अगर 1 लाख करोड़ से कम है तो आपको हटा दिया जाएगा या फिर नए को ऐड कर लिया जाएगा. Inclusion of government owned NBFCs. Now even the government owned NBFCs with asset size greater than 1 lakh crore, they will be the part of upper layer. अब इसमें कुछ चेंजेस हैं in terms of concentration risk norms. So in case of concentration risk norms, what are the changes which have been done? So the changes says if the risk weight is 100% against a loan. अगर NBFC upper layer लोन दे रही है और उस लोन का जो रिस्क है वो 100% है, it's fine, you have to maintain the provisioning accordingly. But if that loan is guaranteed by state government, then in that case its risk weight will decrease from 100 to 20%. It will decrease from 100 to 20%, जिसकी वजह से the reserves which are required, that will fall down. So if any loan is guaranteed by the state government, in that particular case, the risk weighted asset will, or the risk associated with that asset will drop down to 20%, which was earlier 100%. This has been discussed. Is it clear? Done. Moving back to the question. So the proposed framework replaces the existing scoring methodology of NBFC upper layer identification with a fixed asset size threshold of 1 lakh crore. Correct. Government owned NBFC will continue to be excluded. No, sir, they have been included. Under the proposed changes, state government guarantees can be used by NBFC upper layer as credit risk transfer mechanism. Correct. When a loan is backed by state government guarantee, the exposure is treated as that of borrower for capital adequacy purpose. Exposure is treated as that of borrower for capital adequacy purpose. क्या हम अभी भी जो exposure है वो हम एज पर कस्टमर लेंगे, नहीं सर, द एक्सपोजर विल बी एज पर स्टेट गवर्नमेंट विच विल फॉल डाउन टू 20%. एनबीएफसी क्लासिफाइड इन अपर लेयर आर सब्जेक्ट टू स्ट्रिक्ट regulatory requirements such as they have to maintain enhanced capital governance and risk management norms. ये correct है. So answer क्या बनेगा सर? B option 1, 3, 5 are correct, but second and fourth statement is incorrect. बोलो clear है? बोलो clear है? Is it clear? Is it clear? Reply quickly यार. जल्दी से reply कर दो so that I can move ahead. बहुत सारे questions है, अभी तो शुरू हुई है कहानी, तो थोड़ा जल्दी करते हैं ताकि चीजें आसानी से हो जाए, वरना ज्यादा देर आपको भी रुकना पड़ेगा, मुझे भी रुकना पड़ेगा. ठीक है, चलो अगला क्वेश्चन. द वे आई वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट द पेनल्टी व्हिच इज गोइंग टू बी चार्ज ऑन द बैंक if they are giving counterfeit notes on the counter, or if they are dispensing the counterfeit notes through ATM, in that particular case penalty will be charged. And even if they are dispensing, or if they are if RBI checks the currency chest, और अगर currency chest पे counterfeit notes निकल आए तो उस केस में भी penalty charge होगी किसके ऊपर? बैंक के ऊपर. तो उन्हीं की कंडीशन से रिलेटेड ये पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन मैं आपके सामने लाया हूं. सो प्लीज पे अटेंशन, लेट्स ट्राई टू सॉल्व this particular question, but before that let's read out the entire point. So इसमें सबसे important जो है that is penalty. मैंने penalty की जो भी डिटेल्स है उसको मैंने बहुत ही concise way में दे दिया. वो क्या है? बैंक branches poor customer services. So service failure, for example, not giving coins when available, not accepting 50 rupees and below notes, refusing exchange of soiled notes, mutilated notes or imperfect notes, then penalty will be charged 10,000 rupees per failure and 5 lakh rupees if the failure is greater than 5 in 1 year. Counterfeit notes dispensed from ATM, in that case penalty will be 10,000 rupees and it also applies on white label ATMs. ATM cash out में अगर हम बात करें, if the ATM is cash out, that means for 10 hours or more in a month there is no cash in the ATM, then penalty will be 10,000 rupees. Then penalty will be 10,000 rupees, and this report of monthly cash out is need to be sent within 5 days of the next month. In case of currency chest operation, shortage, counterfeit, mutilated notes, operational lapses, violation of any kind of memorandum of association, then penalty will be charged from 50 rupees per piece to the percentage of value, or maybe 5 lakh rupees. Immediate recoveries need to be done. Reporting transactions and balances at CC. So in that case, wrong or delayed reporting is done, then penalty will be bank rate plus 2% on T plus 0 basis. Flat penalty 50,000 for certain delays or wrong reporting can also be charged by RBI. अब इसके अलावा कुछ पॉइंट्स है जो हमें डिटेल में देखने होंगे. वो डिटेल में जो हमें पॉइंट्स देखने हैं, दैट इज बेसिकली रिलेटेड टू दिस पार्ट, दैट इज द इंसेंटिव. इंसेंटिव क्या मिलेंगे सर? एक्सचेंज ऑफ सॉइल नोट्स ₹2 per packet, mutilated notes ₹2 per piece, then distribution of coins 65 rupees per bag of coins, ₹10 extra for semi and rural areas, then cash deposit by non-chest branches under the linkage scheme, that will be large amount, ₹11 per 100 pieces, and other large currency chest will charge 11 rupees per 100 pieces, and other currency chest will charge rupees 8 per 100 pieces. In case of currency chest, minimum transaction amount deposit or withdrawal is 50,000 and thereafter in multiples of 10,000. Reporting time is same day by 7 PM to CYM CC portal. This is very important. 7 PM वाला part बहुत important है. You need to remember. Sundays or holidays, if portal available, report the same by 7 PM. If not available, then in that particular case, in case of global holiday or second or fourth Saturday or Sunday, email consolidated the current amount and transaction should be sent by 7 PM for that day itself. ठीक है जी, क्लियर हो गई बात. इसके अलावा मुझे लगता है कि कोई और ज्यादा पॉइंट आपको ध्यान में रखने की जरूरत है. इसके अलावा हाँ, एक और पॉइंट है विच यू नीड टू कीप इन योर माइंड, दैट इज रिलेटेड टू पेनल्टी. इस पे बात कर लेते हैं गाइस. अगर हम करेंसी चेस्ट की पेनल्टी पे बात करें, काउंटरफिट नोट्स रिसीव होते हैं अगर करेंसी चेस्ट पे, उसकी पेनल्टी पे बात करें तो क्या आंसर होगा? क्या क्या पॉइंट्स हैं जो हमें ध्यान में रखने होंगे? एनी आइडिया एनीबॉडी? Any idea, anybody? Give a thought. करेंसी चेस्ट पे अगर मान लो 50 रुपए का नोट रिसीव हुआ तो क्या होगा? काउंटरफिट नोट रिसीव हुआ तो उसमें पेनल्टी वैल्यू क्या होगी? अगर उससे ज्यादा वैल्यू का हुआ तो पेनल्टी वैल्यू क्या होगी? आई होप you are getting my point where I'm going to hit this particular discussion. If you are getting my point, then give me yes sir and give me the answers. अगर नहीं याद आ रहा तो मैं बताता हूं. तो incentives I have already given you. Exchange of soil notes, अगर 50 रुपए से denomination is 50 rupees and below, in that particular case ₹2 per packet. Mutilated notes के केस में ₹2 per piece. At bank branch और करेंसी चेस्ट सॉइल नोट्स 50 रुपए एंड बिलो ₹2 और फिर ₹2 per piece जो मैंने बताया वो exactly correct है. Now I want penalties which are charged in case of poor services which are provided at currency chest. So if I say there are few issues which can be witnessed. The first issue which can be witnessed over here is that is soil note remittance. So if there is a soil note remittance, shortage of soil note remittance, or in general shortage of notes or coins in the currency chest balance, if the notes or coins are missing, then notes up to 50 rupees, notes up to ₹50, what will be the penalty? So if the note value is up to 50, then it will be ₹50 per piece plus actual loss. It will be ₹50 per piece plus actual loss. Then in case of notes greater than ₹100, then in that particular case it will be ₹100, or I would say full value per piece, plus उसके साथ साथ what I will be adding plus the actual loss for all coins. In case of all coins, if they are missing, if there is a shortage, in case of soil note remittance as well as in general cash remittance, then it will be again the same, that is face value plus per piece. उसके साथ साथ क्या होगा? पेनल्टी इक्वल टू दी फेस वैल्यू पर पीस एंड प्लस दी लॉस. तो फेस वैल्यू जितनी है पर पीस उतना आपका पेनल्टी हो गया और उसके साथ आपको एक्चुअल लॉस तो पे बैक करना ही होगा. उसके लिए आपके पास कोई और सॉल्यूशन नहीं है. नाउ इफ आई टॉक अबाउट द काउंटरफिट नोट्स, अगर यहीं इसी में काउंटरफिट नोट्स मिल जाते हैं तो फिर कहानी कैसी होगी? सर, इन केस ऑफ काउंटरफिट नोट्स एंड इफ द काउंटरफिट नोट्स आर फाउंड टू बी ऑफ डिनोमिनेशन up to 20 rupees, that means 5, 10, 20, then in that case what will be the penalty? Sir, in that case penalty value will be face value. If it is of 50 rupees, if it is a note of 50 rupees which is fake, then in that case you have to pay the face value plus 50%. You have to pay face value plus 50% ऑफ द फेस वैल्यू. एक तो आपको फेस वैल्यू 50 रुपए देने और 25 रुपए आपको पेनल्टी के रूप में देने. अगर आपकी पेनल्टी 100 रुपए से, फेक नोट 100 रुपए से बड़ी कैटेगरी का है, इन दैट पर्टिकुलर केस इट डिपेंड्स ऑन द सीपीएम. सीपीएम मींस काउंटरफिट नोट्स पर मिलियन. In that particular case, what is going to be the penalty? Sir, if CPM is less than 5, यानी कि मिलियन नोट्स में जो काउंटरफिट नोट्स हैं, they are less than 5, then what will be the penalty? So the penalty value is going to be face value plus actual loss. If CPM is greater than 5, but it is less than 20, then in that particular case what will be the penalty? So penalty will be 150% of the face value plus actual loss. और अगर CPM 20 से ज्यादा है, यानी 20 से ज्यादा काउंटरफिट नोट्स मिले हैं, तो उसमें 200% ऑफ फेस वैल्यू विल बी द पेनल्टी प्लस एक्चुअल लॉस. तो भैया जो एक्चुअल लॉस है वो तो देना ही है, और ये जो आपने पे किया एक्स्ट्रा, दैट इज द पेनल्टी विच इज चार्ज. I hope it is clear. I hope it is clear. If it is clear, give me yes sir. Let's try to answer this question then. Oh sorry, my camera was off. मैंने realize ही नहीं किया. ठीक है. Incentives are provided for the exchange of soil notes and mutilated notes. Correct. 2 rupees per packet and 2 rupees per piece. ठीक है. तो ये पैकेट है और वो पीस है. Penalty for ATM cash out exceeding 10 hours in a month is 10,000 rupees. Correct. Counterfeit notes found in ATM attract penalty of 10,000 rupees, not 50,000. है ना. अभी तो देखा था हमने. देखो जरा, एटीएम में अगर नोट आ जाता है काउंटरफेट नोट, तो उस केस में पेनल्टी कितनी होगी? सो दैट विल बी 10,000 ओनली. 50,000 की पेनल्टी जो है दैट विल कम इन केस ऑफ certain criteria which have been clearly mentioned in special cases. Next we have currency chest transaction must be reported by 7 p.m. to CYMCC. This is correct. Penalty interest rate for reporting is 2% above bank rate. आपको reporting करनी है 7% 7 p.m. तक. If you are not doing the reporting within the given timelines, in that particular case, there will be a penalty charge, and that penalty will be what? So that will be bank rate plus 2% on transaction plus 0 basis. That means T plus 0 basis जिस day में transaction हुई है. This is correct. So answer will be 1, 2, 4 and 5. So A option is the correct answer for the given one. If it is clear, give me yes sir. Let's move on to the next question. Let's move on to the next question. If it is clear, समझ तो आ रहा है ना? रिवीजन तो हो रही है. आई होप यू विल बी एंजॉइंग कि भैया हाँ, इस क्लास के बाद जो भी डाउट्स थे, जो भी रिक्वायरमेंट्स थी, दैट हैज बीन क्लियर विद रिस्पेक्ट टू दी आरबीआई सर्कुलर्स. तो आरबीआई सर्कुलर्स पे अब टाइम इन्वेस्ट नहीं करना पड़ेगा, वीडियो के जरिए सब हो जाएगा. नेक्स्ट इज रिगार्डिंग दी operational guidelines and operational guidelines of what? So we are talking about the operational guidelines of FSRB. If I talk about this FRSB, sorry, FRSB stands for what? Sir, FRSB basically stands for it basically stands for floating rate saving bonds. And if I talk about floating rate saving bonds, they are called bonds because they are issued by the government of India and they are issued through the receiving offices authorized by RBI. So floating rate bond is a bond whose interest rate is not fixed, rather its interest rate is linked to the national savings certificate. और national savings certificate एक fixed income saving scheme है जो कि ऑफर की जाती है बाय गवर्नमेंट एंड इट्स मेच्योरिटी इज टिपिकली 5 years. ठीक है जी. अब इसके बाद अगर हम देखें FRSB का जो रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट होगा, दैट विल बी द रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट ऑन NSC, that is National Savings Certificate, plus 0.35%. However, FRSB does not change daily or quarterly. Instead, they rest every 6 months. Specifically, the reset of these interest rates is done on 1st of January and 1st of July, every 6 months. ठीक है. इसके अलावा और क्या पॉइंट इंपॉर्टेंट हो सकता है? चलो आओ जरा देखते हैं क्या पॉइंट और इंपॉर्टेंट है. अगर हम पॉइंट्स पे चले तो सबसे पहली चीज है लिंक विद NSC, दैट इज करेक्ट. NSC रेट प्लस 0.35% रीसेट होगा 1st Jan and 1st July. NSC फिक्स रेट है विच इज रिवाइज ओनली बाय द गवर्नमेंट. whenever revised उसकी वजह से उसका रिफ्लेक्शन आता है ऑन FRSB, बट दे आर टैक्सेबल अनलाइक नेशनल सेविंग सर्टिफिकेट विच आर नॉन टैक्सेबल. ठीक है. प्रोसीजर क्या है सर? द प्रोसीजर फॉर द इशू एंड सर्विसिंग इज nodal office of the RO will share the details to RBI. Application, that means you can go with the application for the same and you can apply for it cash, in the form of cash up to 20,000. Above that you should come with the demand draft or check or maybe electronic transaction. PAN card is required. PAN card is required. Separate I would say BLA for each investors. What is this BLA? Any idea? So that is bond ledger account is created for every investor. Then issue in electronic form will be done and COH within 3 days. Any idea what is this COH stands for? The term COH stands for Certificate of Holding will be issued within 3 days. Remittance or remit the subscription to CAS within 2 working days. It will be remitted to the CAS Nagpur within 2 working days. Interest rate की अगर हम बात करें, sir, interest rate as I said it is linked to NSC. It is reset on 1st January and 1st of July. Day count is every month 30 days and every year will be counted as 360 days. Age of investor, if it is 6 to 70 years, then lock-in will be 6 years. 70 to 80 years, lock-in will be 5 years. If 80 years and above, then the lock-in period will be 4 years. I hope it is absolutely clear. Okay. Nomination is you're registered in the prescribed form. You can nominate anybody. Cancellation and change the nomination is also allowed. Amount wise allocation among nominees is also allowed since 31st of December 2026 for the existing, and for the new one since 30th September 2026. You will be, as a bank, if you are receiving the funds, as an issuer you are receiving the funds, this amount will be remitted to the CAS Nagpur within 2 working days. If in case of any delay done by the bank or the issuing office, then penalty will be charged by RBI, and the report transaction on the same day by 7 p.m. You have to report the transaction by 7 p.m. That is very much required. Then in that particular case, rest all is fine. Okay. Now let's try to answer this question. Bond ledger account is used to hold the bonds in electronic form. This is correct. Receiving office must issue certificate of holding within 7 working days. Correct. Subscription money can be accepted in the form of cash up to 20,000 only. That is correct. Receiving office must issue the certificate of holding within 3 days. Must issue the certificate of holding within 3 days. PAN is mandatory, but Form 97 can be used if you are not giving your PAN. That is correct. All receiving offices must provide online application facility by 31st of December 2026. Yes, sir. This is also allowed. So this is 31st December 2026. No, sir. It is not 31st December 2026. Rather, online application was allowed by 30th of September 2026. By 30th of September 2026. So answer to this particular question is going to be A option. 1, 3 and 4 are correct. अगला question देखते हैं. The next question talks about the Reserve Bank of India's prudential norms on the declaration of dividend and remittance of profit directions. तो यहाँ पे remittance of profit direction में क्या क्या points हैं जो कि announce किए गए हैं. What all points we need to maintain in our mind. What all points we need to stay with us. That is what I'm trying to discuss. Please pay attention. इसमें सबसे पहली चीज है कि सर अगर आप एक बैंक हैं and you want to distribute the dividend to your shareholders, then first is dividend will be distributed up to a fixed limit of profit after tax, and this calculation is done on the adjusted profit after tax. Now the question is, so what is this adjusted profit after tax? Let's try to discuss all these points one by one. So the first point over here is adjusted profit after tax means profit after tax of the financial year minus 50% of the net NPA as on 31st March of the financial year you are talking about. ठीक. उसके अलावा अगर हम बात करें तो सर यहाँ पे ये जो डिविडेंड distribution होगा, so that dividend distribution will depend on certain conditions. So first condition is a board oversight. That means what is the role of board of directors. Difference in NPA classification. If the RBI inspection finds that bank has unreported or bank has underreported its NPA, then the board must consider that. Auditor report, the board must check if the auditor has given the qualified opinion or not. Capital position, the board must assess the current capital levels, future capital requirement, and dividend should not harm the bank's future expansion. अगर ये conditions fulfill है, then only you can go for the second option or the second step. Second step is eligibility. Capital adequacy compliance. The bank has that capital adequacy compliance of capital adequacy ratio as well as common equity tier 1 capital, then only you are allowed. Capital should remain adequate even after distribution. Your profit after tax should be positive. That means positive adjusted profit after tax. In case of foreign bank, the foreign banks operating as branch must have positive profit after tax to remit the profit to its headquarter. Then in this case, the quantum, so for commercial banks like public sector banks, foreign banks, private sector banks, payment banks, small finance banks, local area banks as well as RRBs, there are certain conditions. So the condition is any bank will be allowed to distribute the profit or to distribute the dividend or to provide the dividend only if they fulfill the capital adequacy requirements. So what are the capital adequacy requirements? Sir, in case of small finance bank and public sector banks, capital adequacy requirement is 15%. In case of local area banks, it is 9%. In case of regional rural banks, it is 9%. In case of scheduled commercial banks, it is 9%. But in case of RRBs, overall capital adequacy requirements are there, but you have to check the tier 1 capital as well. So if the tier 1 capital is up to 7%, 0% dividend allowed. If the tier 1 capital, or I would say tier 1 capital to risk weighted asset ratio in case of small finance bank and payment banks is up to 7.5%, then also the dividend distribution will be 0%. Maximum dividend which can be distributed, it cannot exceed 75% of profit after tax in case of payment banks. In case of small finance bank, 75%. In case of public sector banks, foreign banks, private banks, 75%. But in case of RRBs and local area banks, it should not exceed 80%. It should not exceed 80% of profit after tax. अब यहाँ पे एक इन्होंने क्या दिया, एक टेबल दे दिया. उस टेबल में ये कहा कि अगर बैंक का tier 1 capital is up to 8%, then dividend distribution will be 0% of the adjusted PAT. If it is 8 to 10%, it will be 20, 10 to 12, it will be 30 and so on. ये percentages याद नहीं करने, लेकिन ये Z जो लिखा है, Z जो लिखा है, ये याद करना है. This is additional capital buffer required for domestic systematically important banks where Z is equals to 0 in case of non-domestic systematically important banks. RRBs के केस में 7% से कम है, no distribution. 7.5 से कम है for small finance bank और payment bank, 0 distribution. Local area banks में if overall CRAR is up to 9%, 0% distribution. and overall ये limits आपको यहाँ पे लिखी है. ठीक है जी, क्लियर हो गई बात. यही मेजर पॉइंट था इसमें से. I guess it is clear. And now let's move back to the question. Question क्या कहता है? So the question says, consider the following statement. Adjusted profit after tax is calculated by deducting 50% of the net performing asset on 31st March from the profit after tax of the year. This is correct. Foreign banks operating in India through branches may remit profit to their head offices abroad without prior RBI approval, provided they meet the prescribed criteria. This is correct. कि अगर आपने criteria fulfill कर लिया, you can distribute the profit. No one is going to stop you. You are allowed to do that. Moving on to the next point. The next point says extraordinary profit, unrealized gains from level 3 financial instruments and certain overstated profits identified by auditors will not be included in the dividend distribution calculation. Correct. Commercial banks and foreign banks in India are permitted to distribute dividend up to 100% of total PAT. नहीं sir, it is allowed up to 75% of total PAT. उससे ऊपर तो जा ही नहीं सकते. Banks must report dividend deceleration or profit remittances to RBI or NABARD in case of RRBs within 15 days from the date of declaration or remittance. This is correct. बैंक को रिपोर्ट करना होगा कि हमारा डिविडेंड डिक्लेरेशन कितना है या हमारा प्रॉफिट रेमिटेंस कितना होगा. If you are a foreign bank within 15 days, this is correct. So answer to this particular question is going to be A statement. ठीक है जी, क्लियर हो गया. Moving on to the next question. The next question is related to counter credit risk. It is basically related to counter credit risk with respect to the ECL. With respect to the ECL, तो ECL के रिस्पेक्ट में अगर मैं बात करूं, 3-4 चीजें हैं जो इंपॉर्टेंट है. प्लीज पे अटेंशन. सर, करंट एक्सपोजर मेथड. In case of current exposure method, it is positive mark to market value today. But in case of the expected credit loss, here we are talking about, or the expected exposures, we are talking about nodal amount or the notional amount into the add-on factor. The moment I say what is this add-on factor, sir, add-on factor का मतलब है that if there is a transaction which is done, where a counterparty is involved, in case of a counterparty risk, there will be an additional reserves, there will be an add-on factor which you need to maintain. There should be, along with the mark to market value, you have to add some additional value, which is as per the percent. In case of interest rate contracts, it is 0.25, 0.5 and 1.5%. For banks, small finance bank, all India financial institutes. In case of exchange rate contracts, it is 1, 5 and 7.5. In case of equity, 6, 8, 10. In case of metal, 7, 7, 8. In case of other commodities, 10, 12, 15. But अगर एक पेमेंट बैंक है तो उसके केस में एड ऑन फैक्टर यहाँ पे बदल जाएगा, and that is different, 1%, 5%, 7.5. Rest all the add-on factors are same. ठीक है? So you have to consider these add-on factors while you are calculating the counterparty risk in case of a derivative which has been traded, which has been in or the trade has been done or the involvement has been there. Now in case of a bank, if there is a qualified central counterparty, so a central counterparty that meets the strict regulatory standards as per RBI is known as qualified counterparty. In that case, exposure of the bank to the CCP when trades over the counter derivatives or exchange traded derivatives or securities or financing transactions are routed through it. What has RBI changed? Banks acting as clearing member of a QCCP for their own transaction can apply for very low risk at 2%. तो अगर आपका QCCP involve है, in that particular case the risk will be as low as 2%. ठीक है जी? Otherwise you have to maintain the reserves as per the calculation, and the calculation will be done as I have given you the formula. So that will be current exposure plus potential future exposure which you need to include. अब इसके basis पे if I go with the question, the question says that under the current exposure method, potential exposures or potential future exposure is calculated by multiplying the notional principal amount by the applicable add-on factor. This is correct. The revised add-on factor apply only to derivative contracts enter into after the amendment and do not apply for the existing outstanding contracts. This is wrong. Why it is wrong? अगर मैं इसके solution पे जाऊं, sir, the revised add-on factor applies to all the outstanding CCR exposure, including existing that remains open and not just the new factors or the new contracts. A bank acting as clearing member of a qualifying central counterparty may apply 2% risk weight to trade exposure, provided it is not obligated to bear losses on the behalf of the client if the QCCP defaults. तो अगर QCCP default होगा तो भैया बैंक का लॉस कम है तो 2% मेंटेन करना, that is correct. For payment banks, the revised add-on factors under these directions apply only to the exchange rate and gold contracts, that is correct. The low 2% risk weight for QCCP exposure is intended to encourage central clearing through well regulated counterparties, that is correct. तो भैया हम चाहते हैं कि इन clearings को promote किया जाए, and that is the reason this initiative has been taken. So answer is going to be A option, absolutely correct. Moving on to the next point or the next question. अगला question क्या कहता है? So the next question talks about NBFC or the Reserve Bank of India has come up with certain amendments related to the NBFCs. Directly let's jump to the question. The first point says quarterly profits can be included in the owned funds or tier 1 capital only if quarterly financial statements are subjected to a limited review or audit by the statutory auditors. This is correct. कि भैया अगर NBFC है उसका जो quarterly profit है that will be added in the tier 1 capital and other net owned fund calculations if the auditing is done. This is correct. Eligible quarterly profit are adjusted downward by deducting a portion of average dividend paid during the previous 3 financial years. ये बिल्कुल सही है कि सर जो आपका eligible quarterly profit है उसे adjust किया जाएगा downward by deducting a portion of average dividend paid during the previous 3 financial years. Absolutely correct. Newly augmented capital can be considered for concentration norms only after obtaining external auditor certificate and submitting it to the Department of Supervision. Is this point correct? सर थर्ड पॉइंट इज एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट, इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. सेकंड पॉइंट के लिए अगर आपको फॉर्मूला देखना तो एलिजिबल प्रॉफिट इज बेसिकली नेट प्रॉफिट -1/4 डिविडेंड इनटू टी. These amendments apply only to NBFCs and do not cover housing finance companies or standalone primary dealers. This is also correct क्योंकि ये applicable नहीं है on CICs, that is core investment companies, mortgage guarantee companies, as well as asset reconstruction companies. It is not applicable. The amendment aims to harmonize the computation or the calculation of own funds and tier 1 capital and ensure that exposure limits are based on least available financial statements. This is also correct. The statement is correct. The principal objective is uniform करना capital definition को और ensure करना that regulatory limits are calculated using the latest reviewed financial positions rather than relying only on annual audited statements. So answer will be what? Sir, A statement is correct, but one of the statement was wrong, na? The amendments apply only to NBFC, do not cover. नहीं सर, इसमें do not cover housing finance companies. It do not cover standalone primary dealers, but along with that उसके अलावा जो मैंने options दी हैं वो भी covered नहीं है. So आंसर क्या होगा? A option 1, 2, 3, 4 is wrong, 5 is correct. नहीं E ऑप्शन नहीं होगा ना, क्योंकि यहाँ पे लिखा है अप्लाई ओनली टू एनबीएफसी, डू नॉट कवर हाउसिंग फाइनेंस कंपनी और एनबीएफसी. यहाँ पे और एनबी और स्टैंड अलोन प्राइमरी डीलर आ गया ना, तो ये और नहीं है ना, इट इज एंड दोनों में से कोई एक थोड़ी ना दोनों पे अप्लाई नहीं कर रहा. दैट इज अ पॉइंट. चलो, मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. सो द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज रिलेटेड टू NUCFDC, which stands for National Urban Cooperative Finance and Development Corporation Limited. So NUFCDC has been permitted to make private placement offer of its equity shares to more than 200% in the financial year. बिल्कुल सही है सर. NUCFDC को अब अलाउ किया गया कि भैया आप 200 से ज्यादा लोगों को अपने शेयर होल्डर बना सकते हो, बिकॉज यू आर अलाउड टू इंक्लूड 1400 अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स एज योर मेंबर्स. दैट इज इम्पॉसिबल इफ यू विल बी फॉलोइंग द प्राइवेट limited company criterias. Such private placement offers can be made only to the urban cooperative banks as well as national cooperative development corporations. This is correct. भाई ये जो private placements है, that will be made only to the urban cooperative banks as well as to the national cooperative development corporation. And remember that NUCFDC is required to maintain a board approved resource planning policy, and it must submit the report to RBI within 15 days. So NUCFDC is allowed to grant loans against securities of its own shares. No sir, you're not allowed to do that. NUCFDC must quarterly statement to RBI within 15 days from the close of each quarter. That is correct. The proceeds raised through these equity issuances can be used only for the purpose of consistent with NUCFD's mandates approved by RBI. कि जो पैसा है भैया वो आप यूज करेंगे सिर्फ अपने डे टू डे जो मैंडेट्स हैं, जो सर्विसेज आपको दी गई हैं उनको परफॉर्म करने के लिए. ऐसा नहीं इस पैसे को किसी और not approved transaction के लिए you cannot be utilizing. Moving on to the next question. The next question talks about the capital market exposure with respect to the banks. उस पे कुछ changes हुए. Let's talk about this in detail. Please pay attention. If I talk about the capital market exposure, सबसे पहले आपको पता होना चाहिए RBI has fixed the percentage where RBI said that banks capital market exposure is allowed to be 40%. Overall, it is allowed to be 40% of what? 40% of what? Any idea? Is it 40% of tier 1 capital? It is 40% of total capital. It is 40% of asset. May I have the answer, please? Any idea? चलो सोच के बताओ. Take your time. Then if I move ahead, for the acquisition, if bank is providing a loan for the acquisition purpose, it should be 20% of the same. And if bank is acquiring or investing, then also the limit is 20%. But 20% of what? 20? No, it's not A and B C, Grav. एक बार सोचो दोबारा. Is it A and B C? Is it A and B C? Any idea, anybody? सोच लो, कोई बात नहीं. अब उसमें क्या है कि सर ये जो loan which will be given for acquiring purpose will be given to non-financial institutes, and that too with a and that too with a net profit of greater than, and that too with a net asset of greater than 500 crores. So these are some of the conditions which you need to remember over here. अब अगला क्वेश्चन ये आता, अब अगला क्वेश्चन यहाँ पे बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है. वो क्वेश्चन ये है कि सर ये जो कैपिटल मार्केट एक्सपोजर है, कैपिटल मार्केट एक्सपोजर इज 40% ऑफ. किसी ने कहा था ए एंड बी सी, आई सेड नो. किसी ने कहा नहीं सर it is A and B C only. It is A and B C only. तो बताओ जरा, is it correct? Is it correct? Or is it? चलो मैं बताता हूँ. It is 40% of tier 1 capital. It is not A and B C. So capital market exposure is 40% of tier 1 capital, 20% in case of direct exposure limit where you are investing yourself, and in case of acquisition it is 20%. In case of acquisition it is 20%. इसमें और भी कुछ चीजें हैं जो आपको याद रखनी है. अगला जो पॉइंट यहाँ आपको जो याद रखना है वो ये है, इफ यू आर प्रोवाइडिंग लोन टू दी कैपिटल मार्केट इंटरमीडियरी, that will also be counted under the 40% wala figure only. That will also be the part of the overall exposure of 40% only. Banks, they are prohibited for financing proprietary trading or investment of brokers and other intermediaries. Need-based facilities are permitted for working capital, settlement mismatch, margin trading, as well as market making, but not for broker proprietary positions. Security-based loans are subject to loan to value limits, where we have 60% loan to value limit for listed shares. मतलब अगर 1 करोड़ के शेयर्स है तो 60% का लोन यानी 60 लाख का लोन मिलेगा. या फिर आप ये समझ लो कि जो हेयर कट है दैट इज गोइंग टू बी 40%. हेयर कट इज गोइंग टू बी 40%. ठीक है जी, क्लियर होगी ये बात. अब ये जो इंटरमीडियरीज हैं, इफ दे आर बोरोइंग द लोन, if these intermediaries they are borrowing the loan, in that particular case we should be very much clear that these intermediary loans are also covered under the same category. It's tier 1 capital, that is common equity tier 1 capital. Grav, that is correct. Okay ji, is it clear? Loan against security. So if an individual is borrowing loan against security, it is capped at 1 crore per individual with the limit on secondary market funding, and loan to value ratio is 60%, as we have already discussed. इसके अलावा कोई और पॉइंट है जो आपको दिमाग में आ रहा है? नॉन फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूट्स वाला पॉइंट क्लियर हो गया है ना. नॉन फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूट्स को यू विल बी प्रोवाइडिंग द लोन फॉर द एक्वायरिंग पर्पस. एज अ बैंक यू विल बी प्रोवाइडिंग द लोन फॉर द एक्वाइजिशन टू द नॉन फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूट्स. 500 करोड़ वाली जो फिगर है दैट हैज बीन डिस्कस्ड, ये भी क्लियर हो गया. एनी अदर थिंग विच आई गेस आई एम लूजिंग एक्सेप्ट CMI तो मैं बढ़ाऊंगा ये भी, वो तो आपकी स्क्रीन पे है ही. इसके अलावा अगर हम कुछ लूज कर रहे हैं, नहीं आएगा ऐसा ना. सही है, चलो नाउ लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द CMI. So in case of CMI, all bank exposures to CMI will be the part of CME only. Loan and guarantees only to CMI that are registered and regulated by the financial sector regulator, that is SEBI. Banks may provide secured credit for legitimate operational needs, working capital, day-to-day settlement gaps, margin facilities. Ban on bank funding for proprietary trading, that means अगर उसको खुद की ट्रेडिंग के लिए लोन चाहिए तो लोन नहीं दिया जाएगा. CMI's loans must generally be 100% secured. Acceptable collateral includes the eligible securities where loan to value ratio is 60% or haircut is 40%. Cash or liquid assets, immovable property, as well as bank guarantees. Guarantee for exchange, margin obligation are permitted to CMI. और अगर आपने CMI ने लोन लिया for margin from the bank and the guarantee is given, in case of guarantee given by the bank needs 50% of the collateral to back its guarantee. अगर तो लोन दे रहा तो 100% collateral चाहिए, और अगर गारंटी दे रहा है तो भैया उस केस में 50% कोलैटरल चाहिए, और 50% में भी आपका आधा क्या होना चाहिए, दैट इज कैश, या टोटल का 25% क्या होना चाहिए, कैश. अगर बैंक ने गारंटी दी जिसकी वजह से ब्रोकर ने लोन लिया किसी और फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूट से फॉर देयर ओन पर्पस, फॉर देयर ओन ट्रेडिंग, फॉर देयर ओन प्रॉपर्टी ट्रेडिंग, इन दैट केस इट शुड बी सिक्योर्ड 100% कोलैटरल, जिसमें 50% क्या होना चाहिए, कैश होना चाहिए। क्लियर हो गई बात, समझ आ गई? सो बैंक मस्ट सेट सिंगल काउंटर पार्टी एंड एग्रीगेट लिमिट्स फॉर CMI. The objective is to enable markets to function smoothly while preventing banks from building risky under collateralized positions via intermediaries. ठीक है जी, अब क्वेश्चन देखते हैं। बैंक कैन एक्सटेंड लोन्स एंड गारंटीज ओनली टू कैपिटल मार्केट इंटरमीडियरीज दैट आर रिक्वायर्ड, that are registered with the regulated entity, that is correct. Bank funding for property trading by broker and trading firms is generally prohibited, that is correct. बैंक लोन नहीं देगा, लेकिन अगर बैंक ने गारंटी दी फॉर प्रॉपर्टी ट्रेडिंग एक्टिविटीज, इट मस्ट बी फुली सिक्योर्ड 100% कोलैटरल, जिसमें से 50% कैश होना चाहिए, दैट इज करेक्ट. Under the expected credit loss framework, bank will not require to make provisions for non-fund based exposures such as bank guarantees. This is wrong. This is wrong. You have to still make the provisioning for these bank guarantees as well. Private sector banks are expected to be more affected because they have greater exposure to the broker financing and they earn significant fees income from the bank guarantee. This is correct. Private banks ज़्यादा involved हैं with the brokers rather than the public sector banks. So answer is going to be A option. अगला question is related to DICGC. और DICGC पे अगर मैं बात करूं, so DICGC has come up with first is risk-based premium, as well as it has come up with a review with respect to the reporting. Reporting में every bank has to report publicly that whether they have paid their premium or not, and if they have paid their premium on time, correct, what amount of premium has been paid, you have to share that. Bank should not use the premium percentage which they are paying in order to attract more depositors, because अगर आपका रिस्क कम है तो आपका प्रीमियम परसेंटेज कम होगा, premium as a percentage of deposit कम होगा, but you cannot use it to attract the customer. And lastly पता नहीं पॉइंट आ रहा था दिमाग में, सो प्रीमियम टाइम, हाँ, अगर आपने डिले पेमेंट की है इस प्रीमियम की, देन यू हैव टू गिव द रीजन कि ये डिले पेमेंट क्यों हुई, और अगर आपने कोई पुरानी पेमेंट की है, कोई एक्यूरल पेमेंट की है, तो आपको वही बताना होगा कि ये पेमेंट मैंने क्यों की, कब की, क्या लेट हुआ, वो सारी डिस्कशन देनी होगी एंड पब्लिकली उसे प्रेजेंट करना होगा, सो दैट एवरीबडी इज अवेयर दैट हाउ बैंक इज डीलिंग विद DICGC. So amendments were announced after the DICGC implemented risk-based premium framework, that is correct. Banks are now required to disclose their annual financial statement whether DICGC premium was paid on time or any, I would say, areas, that means pending amount is paid or not. The disclosure requirement applies only to the commercial bank and does not cover cooperative as well as rural. Sir, it is applicable on everybody. Those who are included under DICGC, it is applicable. The directions were issued under Section 35 of Banking Regulation Act 1949, correct. Public का फायदा, Banking Regulation Act 1949, correct. Amendments are applicable from 1st of April, correct. So answer to this particular question, so 1, 2, 4, 5 are correct, but the third statement is wrong. So answer is going to be A option. Moving on to the next. So the next question is again on the same. The amendment require bank to disclose the details relating to payment of DICGC insurance premium in their annual financial statement, correct. RBP framework, all banks continue to pay the same insurance premium. No sir, अब तो change हो गया. Disclosure requirement covers whether DICGC premium was paid on time or not, correct. Amendment applies to scheduled commercial, scheduled finance banks, पेमेंट बैंक्स, रीजनल रूरल बैंक्स एंड कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स. हाँ जी सर, उन पे अप्लाई हो रही है. दे विल बी इफेक्टिव फ्रॉम 1st of April, करेक्ट. सो आंसर इसका भी क्या होगा, ए ऑप्शन इज द करेक्ट आंसर. ठीक है, अगले क्वेश्चन पे बढ़ते हैं. कंसिडर द फॉलोइंग. अच्छा, याद रखना किस किस पे एप्लीकेबल है. इट इज एप्लीकेबल ऑन कमर्शियल बैंक, स्मॉल फाइनेंस बैंक, पेमेंट बैंक्स, लोकल एरिया बैंक्स, RRBs, urban cooperative banks, and even rural cooperative banks. Applicable from 1st of April 2026. Moving on to the next question. The next question is related to currency declaration form. मतलब अगर आप इंडिया से बाहर जा रहे हैं, इंडिया में आ रहे हैं, तो दोनों ही केसेस में if you are carrying the currency, you have to inform regarding the currency you are carrying फॉरेन करेंसी यू आर कैरिंग एंड उसके बेसिस पे कुछ कंडीशंस लगाई गई हैं, वो कंडीशंस देख लो. Who need to fill the form? Passengers entering India must, one second. Passengers entering India must fill the currency declaration only if they have foreign exchange of value greater than 10,000, including cash and traveler checks, etc. But if you are having foreign currency in cash greater than 5,000, then also you have to fill the form. दोनों conditions applicable है. Person do not need to fill the form अगर उनके पास फॉरेन एक्सचेंज कैश प्लस ट्रेवलर चेक अप टू 10,000 है डॉलर्स, या फिर फॉरेन करेंसी कैश में सिर्फ अप टू 5,000 है, देन देयर इज नो नीड टू फिल द फॉर्म. द फॉर्म शुड बी शोन टू ऑथोराइज बैंक्स और मनी चेंजर्स ड्यूरिंग द करेंसी एक्सचेंज. इफ फुल foreign exchange is not used, the form should be retained for departure. No need to give detailed breakdown of the currency or checks. Foreign tourists are not required to provide their address. So with the help of all these conditions, you will be declaring कि कितना पैसा ला रहे हो, कितना वापस लेके जा रहे हो, बस इतनी सी कहानी है. ठीक है. क्वेश्चन देखो, द रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया has introduced currency declaration form through an amendment to the Foreign Exchange Management Regulation 2015. Correct. The passenger entering India must submit currency declaration form only when the total foreign exchange exceeds $10,000, currency notes exceed $5,000. Correct. The amendment reduces existing declaration threshold for foreign exchange brought into India. Reduces existing declaration, reduces the existing declaration. नहीं सर, ये तो कहीं फिट नहीं बैठ रहा. It's nothing to do with the reducing वाला part. The reason is the amendment does not reduce or does not change or reduce these limits. The limits are still the same as they were before. So this is wrong. CDF may be used as evidence when approaching authorized bank or money changer for conversion. This is correct. Foreign tourists are exempted to provide their address in the currency declaration form. हाँ जी, आपको कोई जरूरत नहीं है अपना एड्रेस देने की, बस आप ये बता दो कितने लाए थे, कितने वापस लेके जा रहे हो और चेंज कर लो. दैट इज इट. नेक्स्ट इज रिलेटेड टू द सेम क्वेश्चन ही है क्या? हाँ, सेम ही है. ठीक है. हाँ, मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज रिलेटेड टू रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडियाज master direction on unique identifier in the financial market. So in case of unique identifier in the financial market, which is valid on over the counter derivatives, so in case of over the counter derivative trade, the legal entity identifier is a 20 character global code used to uniquely identify the legal entities which are participating. Correct. Unique transaction identifier provision will come into force from 1st of January 27. Correct. LEI is mandatory for all non-individual entities participating in over-the-counter financial market transactions regulated by RBI with a threshold limit of $1 million for non-derivative foreign exchange transaction. अगर $1 billion से कम है, then there is no requirement. That is correct. UTI is up to 52 characters, which include the LEI of the entity generating. That is correct. Whenever OTC derivative contract undergoes any amendment, including routine changes, a completely new UTI will be generated. नहीं sir, routine changes में there is no change, but whenever there is identity change, whenever there is a holistic change, then only the requirement is there for this particular revision. ठीक है जी, clear हो गया point. Moving on to the next question. With reference to the risk-based premium framework introduced by DICGC, consider the following statement. So this risk-based premium framework has been introduced. It is applicable from 1st of April 2026. That is correct. Tier 2 model includes urban cooperative banks as well as district central cooperative banks. Tier 2 model include urban cooperative banks as well as district cooperative banks. ये क्या है? ये tier 2 model की यहाँ पे कहानी क्या है? If I discuss this story with you, then my answer to this particular question is, so statement 2 says tier 2 model applies to regional rural banks. It applies to cooperative banks, district central cooperative banks and urban cooperative banks. So there are two models, tier 1 and tier 2 model, and tier 2 model applies to RRBs, district cooperative banks, urban cooperative banks, state cooperative banks. They are included under the same. ठीक है जी, clear हो गई. Category A banks pay 10 paisa per 100 rupees of accessible deposit. So category A बैंक जो है वो 100 रुपए देगा? नहीं सर, कैटेगरी ए बैंक जो है इट विल नॉट पे 100 रुपीज, रादर कैटेगरी ए बैंक विल पे 8 पैसा, कैटेगरी बी विल पे 10 पैसा, कैटेगरी सी विल पे 11 एंड डी विल पे हाईएस्ट दैट इज 12 पैसा। तो ये न्यू रेट्स हैं। सो कैटेगरी ए इज द सेफेस्ट बैंक एंड कैटेगरी डी इज द रिस्कीएस्ट बैंक, वो सबसे ज्यादा रिस्की है। ठीक है, अब इस पे और जो पॉइंट आपको याद रखने हैं वो क्या है? द टीयर 1 इट इज एप्लीकेबल ऑन शेड्यूल कमर्शियल बैंक, स्मॉल फाइनेंस बैंक and foreign banks. In case of tier 2 it includes RRB, state cooperative banks, DCCB and urban cooperative banks. Based on supervisory review rating, financial indicators and potential loss to DIFs, but here the financial indicators, potential loss as well as governance parameters are also important to be taken into consideration. Local area banks and payment banks, they will pay the same, that is 12 paisa for 100 rupees. Quantitative parameters used, financial indicators like capital adequacy ratio, quality of capital, asset quality or NPA, liquidity ratios and profitability indicators, and governance indicator. Governance indicator in case of tier 2 it includes board composition, board governance structure as well as key managerial positionals or key managerial personal presence भी आपको देखनी पड़ेगी। इसके अलावा अगर मैं कहूं कि सर जो टीयर 1 बैंक्स हैं उनके लिए 1% इंसेंटिव पर क्लीन ईयर, मैक्सिमम 25%। टीयर 2 बैंक्स के लिए सिलेक्टेड आरआरबीज, कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स, रूरल कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स, टीयर 4 अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स, देयर विल बी फ्लैट 25% इंसेंटिव अगर 25 ईयर्स का क्लीन रिकॉर्ड है तो यहाँ पे कैलकुलेशन कैसे होगी सर? इफेक्टिव रेट इज गोइंग टू बी 1 माइनस रिस्क इंसेंटिव, इट विल बी कार्ड रेट इंटू 1 माइनस रिस्क इंसेंटिव जो यहां पे लिखा है, और उसके साथ साथ 1 माइनस विंटेज इंसेंटिव। टीयर 1 के केस में यू हैव टू कैलकुलेट इट मैक्सिमम 25%, हियर यू हैव टू कैलकुलेट इट फ्लैट 25% फॉर 25 ईयर्स ऑफ क्लीन रिकॉर्ड। अगर 25 साल का क्लीन रिकॉर्ड नहीं है तो भैया ये जीरो हो जाएगा। ठीक है, क्लियर हो गई बात? इससे ज्यादा मुझे लगता कुछ और बातें इंपॉर्टेंट है। टीयर 1 कैपिटल कैन रिसीव मैक्सिमम विंटेज ऑफ 25%, दिस इज करेक्ट। Tier 2 capital can also receive the maximum vintage of 25% only. Tier risk category assigned by DICGC are publicly disclosed to improve depositor awareness. No sir, that is not publicly disclosed. ये allowed नहीं है। ऐसा नहीं है कि भैया हम 8% में आ रहे हैं, हम बढ़िया बैंक है तो आओ हमारे पास डिपॉजिट ओपन करो। आरबीआई कहता है ये अलाउड नहीं है, यू आर नॉट अलाउड टू डू दिस। मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट, अगला क्वेश्चन क्या कहता है? द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज रिलेटेड टू MSMEs. So MSME certain directions have been announced. उसमें सबसे बड़ी डायरेक्शन ये है कि now MSMEs are allowed to enjoy collateral free loan up to 20 lakh rupees. Possible extension can be up to 25 lakh rupees if required. उसके बाद की जो सारी बातें they are basic. For example, delayed payment protection जो दूसरे एक्ट में दिया गया that is 45 days. अगर उससे ज्यादा डिले होगा you have to pay 3 times the bank rate. उसके अलावा अगर मैं देखूं तो restructuring and revival framework for stressed MSME up to 25 crores, SMA based early stressed identification will be done and you can call for restructuring is allowed. Timely and adequate credit, standby credit facility, loan up to 25 lakhs should be closed within 14 working days. एक्सेप्ट करो लोन दे रहे हो या नहीं, अगर नहीं दे रहे तो भैया 14 दिन के अंदर अंदर बता दो। प्रायोरिटी सेक्टर लेंडिंग के तहत MSME को लोन दिया जाता है which is 7.5% and there is no loan wise criteria for the same. All these conditions are applicable on all the banks excluding RRBs. These are not applicable on RRBs. This is something which you need to remember from this entire story. इसके अलावा मुझे लगता कुछ और important है. Let's try to answer the question. MSME nearly contribute 30% of India's GDP and 45% of India's export. This is correct. Banks are prohibited from demanding collateral for loans up to 20 lakh rupees extended to MSMEs. Correct. Loan application up to 25 lakh should be decided within 14 working days. Correct. Buyers delaying payment to MSMEs beyond 45 days must pay compound interest at 3 times the prevailing bank rate. बिल्कुल सही है कि अगर आपने 45 दिन तक MSME का पैसा नहीं दिया तो भैया 3 गुना बैंक रेट पेनल्टी देनी होगी. RRBs are directly covered under applicability of this direction. No sir, RRBs are excluded. Rest all the banks are covered. So answer is going to be A option. 1, 2, 3, 4 are correct. अरे बोल यार, मजा आ रहा है? मुझे ऐसा क्यों लग रहा है आप लोग थक गए हो, सो गए हो? अरे मजा आ रहा है या नहीं? I hope each and every point which I am discussing with you is crystal clear. Say yes or no in the comment section, everybody. चलें आगे. Let's move ahead. Okay, moving on to the next. The next is with reference to the RBI's digital fraud compensation. This news has been taken up. Let's try to discuss this news. The news क्या कहती है? कुछ डाउट भी आया था कल WhatsApp ग्रुप में, तो वो भी क्लियर हो जाएगा. RBI announced one-time compensation for digital fraud victims, relief up to 25,000, focuses on small value digital frauds, strengthen trust in the digital banking. इसके लिए किया गया. Nature of compensation, one-time relief mechanism, covers small value digital frauds. Compensation is up to 85% or maximum 25,000, applicable in case of first instance only. कॉम्पनसेशन एग्जाम्पल्स, मान लो लॉस 20,000 का है तो कॉम्पनसेशन 85% यानी 17,000 होगा, और अगर लॉस 50,000 का है तो 85% का कोई मतलब नहीं है. मैक्सिमम कॉम्पनसेशन विल बी 25%. आरबीआई बेयर करेगा मेजॉरिटी 70%, 15% बेयर करेगा कॉन्ट्रीब्यूटिंग बैंक जो भी बैंक से इन्वॉल्व है, एंड रेस्ट 15% विल बी बेयर्ड बाय द कस्टमर. और यहाँ पे आपका बेनिफिशियरी बैंक एज वेल एज सेंडिंग बैंक बोथ विल बी involved in this particular compensation. Then we have ठीक है, बाकी बेसिक है, nothing to discuss. Question देखते हैं. The proposed framework provides compensation up to 85% of the fraud amount or 25% whichever is lower. Correct. Compensation is available for repeated instances. No, it is available only for one time. Under the burden sharing mechanism, bank and customer will bear 15% each. Small value digital fraud accounts for more than 2/3 of the fraud cases, but only 15% of the total fraud value. भैया मोटा मोटा 66% of transactions जो होती हैं that are small value digital frauds. RBI proposed mis-selling guidelines focuses on product suitability, customer appropriateness and informed consent. This is correct. कि भैया बेवजह कस्टमर को गलत चीज मत भेजो, कस्टमर की रिक्वायरमेंट के हिसाब से उसको कस्टमर को वो पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट आप ऑफर करो. दैट हैज बीन आस्क्ड रिसेंटली बाय आरबीआई. ठीक है जी. मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. अगला पॉइंट देखते हैं क्या कहता है. द नेक्स्ट पॉइंट सेज विद रेफरेंस टू यूटीआई और द ओवर द काउंटर ट्रेड. अब मुझे लगता है कि दिस क्वेश्चन यू कैन आंसर. So UTI can contain maximum 52 characters. Correct. Legal entity identifier 20 characters. Correct. Under waterfall mechanism. Waterfall mechanism का मतलब कौन ये records maintain करेगा? If I talk about the waterfall mechanism, priority is first it is need to be done by the central counterparty. If not present, then it will be done by the electronic trading platform. If not, then mutually agreed entity will do that. If not, then finally it will be done by CCIL PR, that is trade repository will do the concerned thing, will come up with the UTI, that is unique transaction identifier. Under the waterfall mechanism, electronic trading platform gets first priority for generating. No sir, first priority is given to the central counterparty, second is given to the electronic trading platform, third is given to the mutually agreed entity, and fourth is given to the default, that is CCIL trade repository. The revised RBI framework makes UTI mandatory from 1st of January 2027. This is correct. So keeping this in mind, this is correct. UTI framework was globally influenced by post 2008 G20 reforms relating to over the counter derivative markets. Correct कि भैया ये G20 के over the counter derivative markets की वजह से ही या उस पोस्ट रिफॉर्म्स की वजह से ही न्यूज में आया और उसकी रिक्वायरमेंट सभी बैंक्स के ऊपर निकल कर आई. Now RBI has revised certain norms with respect to the external commercial borrowings. So in case of external commercial borrowings, the limit which was earlier $750 million, now it has increased either $1 billion or 300% of the net worth, whichever is high. Expanded definition means in case of external commercial borrowing, it is borrowed by Indian residents. External commercial lending done by the Indian residents. Then we have benchmark rate. It is the rate at which alternative rate of reference or alternative reference rate where the transaction is need to be done. ठीक है. Major reforms which have been announced. Prohibited sectors are chit fund sector is not allowed for ECB, nidhi companies, real estate speculation, farmhouse construction, general agriculture, animal husbandry, plantation activities, securities trading and domestic NPA repayments are not allowed under the same. Permitted exceptions: construction development projects, industrial parks, greenhouse farming, as well as controlled horticulture, seed development, tea, coffee, rubber, and mergers as well as acquisition. For them, this borrowing is allowed. Borrowing by residents: INR loans allowed from NRIs or overseas citizens of India. That means you can borrow from your relatives. That can be borrowed through inward remittance, through NRE account, NRO account, FCNR account, or special SNRR, that is special non-resident account. Then we have eligible borrowers. Sir, earlier only FDI eligible entities were allowed to borrow the amount, but now all resident entities except individuals can borrow, such as companies, LLPs, corporates. Everyone can borrow from the foreign entities. Individuals can borrow only from individuals. Recognized lenders, sir, new lenders include any non-resident lender is eligible. Overseas branches are allowed. IFSC based institutions are also allowed to provide the loan under the same. ECB allowed in currency conversion. If I talk about the currency conversions, a foreign currency can be converted into INR. INR can be converted into foreign currency at the time of external commercial borrowing. Minimum average maturity period. General rule is minimum 3 years, but now in case of manufacturing sector, there is a relaxation. 1 to 3 years of maturity loan can also be borrowed, and up to $150 million loan can be borrowed for a value of or for a time period of 1 to 3 years. Cost of borrowing. Sir, earlier the cost of borrowing was 450 plus London Interbank offer it, but now it has been removed, and now we are offering or we are following the alternative reference rate to calculate the interest rate. ठीक है जी, क्लियर हो गई बात है. तो क्या क्या चेंज हुआ सर? रेगुलेटरी में लिबरलाइज हो गया आपका external borrowings. Now 1 billion or 300% of net worth, fully flexible in terms of currency conversion. Now your market based rate of interest is decided. Basic monitoring की जाती थी, लेकिन अब monitoring काफी strong है, and in this particular case there is the criteria with reference to the reporting. Here you have to report the transactions. Untraceable borrower framework has also enforced. Untraceable borrower framework has also informed, where means action RBI informed, enforcement directorate informed. Criteria is no ECB return for 4 quarters. Authorized dealer bank unable to contact the borrower and registered office is non-operational. In that particular case it will be termed as untraceable borrower, और अगर borrower untraceable होगा तो ED को इसमें include किया जाएगा. Now going back to the question, the borrower limit under ECB has been increased from $750 million to higher of 1 billion or 300% of net worth. Correct. Amendment continues. No sir, it has revised to market rate, especially the ARR. Then ECB funds cannot be used for repayment of domestic NPAs. This is correct. That has been prohibited. Manufacturing companies may borrow for 1 to 3 years up to $150 million cap. Correct. Under the new framework only. No sir, under the new framework many more entities are permitted above those which were earlier allowed. That were the entities which were eligible under FDI. So keeping that in mind, 1, 3, 4 are the correct answer, which means B option is the correct answer. अगला question देखो. Consider the following statement with respect to RBI amendment for urban cooperative banks. Easy question है. Directly will jump to the answer. The ceiling on the unsecured advances have been revised from 10% of total assets to 20% of the total loans and advances. ये बिल्कुल ठीक है. पहले सीलिंग था कि भैया 10% तक का आप टोटल लोन दे सकते थे अनसिक्योर्ड, और 20% तक दे सकते हैं. टीयर 1 कैपिटल कैन ग्रांट अनसिक्योर्ड लोन अप टू 10 lakhs ओनली. दिस इज करेक्ट. बट अगर आप टीयर 2 बैंक्स की बात करें या टीयर 3 बैंक्स की बात करें तो उसके केस में वी हैव द डिफरेंट लिमिट्स. So in case of tier 1 banks, individual unsecured loan limit is 5 lakhs, tier 2 7.5, tier 3 and tier 4 is 10 lakh rupees. So keeping that in mind, tier 1 banks up to 10 lakhs, no sir, in tier 1 it is 5 lakhs, tier 2 7.5 lakhs, and tier 3 and tier 4 it is up to 10 lakh rupees per borrower. Nominal members are now permitted to obtain short-term loan up to maximum tenure of 3 years. This is correct. The tier 3 and tier 4 are allowed flexibility in deciding housing loan tenure and moratorium policies. This is correct. अगर आप देखो tier 1 और tier 2 banks जो हैं, maximum tenure of housing loan is 20 years and moratorium is 18 months, but tier 3 and tier 4 banks they are allowed to decide independently. उनके ऊपर कोई fixed condition नहीं है. This is correct. Inland bills with usance up to 90 days are treated as unsecured advances under all circumstances. No sir, they are treated as secured. They are treated as secured advances. अगर मैं यहाँ पे देखूं तो ये देखो inland DA bills up to 90 days, short term trade credit or lower credit lower default risk, so they will be treated as secured rather than unsecured. So these are some of the points which you need to remember. Earlier 10% था, 20% कर दिया. Priority sector loans, additional loan दिया जा सकता है under priority sector if the limit is achieved. That would be up to 50,000 per borrower, not more than that. बाकी कुछ खास है नहीं, आप पढ़ोगे आपको समझ आ जाएगा. So answer this particular question is B option. अगला question देखो, which of the following statement is correct with respect to capital market exposure? सर ये डिस्कस कर चुका हूँ, सीधा आंसर पे बात करूंगा. बैंक में प्रोवाइड एक्विजिशन फाइनेंस ओनली इफ borrower has a net worth of 500 crores, correct? Only if borrower is a non-financial institution. Aggregate capital market exposure of a bank cannot exceed 40%, correct? RBI has prescribed uniform loan to value ratio of 75% for all eligible securities. No sir, it is different. Loan to capital market intermediaries are fully treated as capital market exposure, correct? Bridge finance under the revised framework can be extended up to a tenure of 24 months. Sir, I think it is extended up to a tenure of 12 months, not 24 months. So keeping that in mind, क्या आंसर बनेगा सर इस क्वेश्चन का? जो आंसर बनेगा that will be A option. तो देख लो जरा. रिटेल लोन अगेंस्ट सिक्योरिटी 1 करोड़, सेकेंडरी मार्केट 25 लाख, IPO 25 लाख, मिनिमम मार्जिन 25%, कोलैटरल रिप्लेसमेंट इफ रेटिंग फॉल्स बिलो BBB नेगेटिव. नेक्स्ट वी हैव क्या है LTV सर? लिस्टेड इक्विटी के लिए 60%, इक्विटी फंड्स, ETF, रियल एस्टेट इन्वेस्टमेंट ट्रस्ट 75%, AAA डेट सिक्योरिटीज 85%, AA to BBB डेट सिक्योरिटीज 75%. सो इट इज नॉट यूनिफॉर्म एज 75% फॉर ऑल दी सिक्योरिटीज जो मैंने वहां पे आपको बताया. उसके बाद अगर हम बात करें 500 करोड़ करेक्ट. नेक्स्ट इज पॉजिटिव पैट फॉर लास्ट 3 years एंड इन्वेस्टमेंट ग्रेड रेटिंग इफ अंडररेटेड और अनलिस्टेड. तो अगर आपका लिस्टेड है तो ठीक, अगर लिस्टेड नहीं है देन इन दैट पर्टिकुलर केस इन्वेस्टमेंट ग्रेड रेटिंग इज रिक्वायर्ड. लोन कंडीशन, मैक्सिमम फाइनेंस विल बी 75% ऑफ द एक्विजिशन वैल्यू, borrower contribution will be 25%, mandatory corporate guarantee is need to be there, then consolidated leverage should be 3:1. That means the ratio of equity to asset should be 3:1. Rest is, this is done. Prohibited में loan against, ठीक है, ये कुछ खास नहीं है, खास नहीं है, ठीक है, डन. इसके अलावा कुछ और ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. हाँ, ये इंपॉर्टेंट है. 40% ओवरऑल, 20% and it is 40% of what? So it is 40% of tier 1 capital. 40% of tier 1 capital. I hope it is clear. क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करें तो क्वेश्चन का आंसर क्या बना था? A ऑप्शन, दैट इज करेक्ट. अगला क्वेश्चन देखो. Consider the following statement regarding the amendments on the directions of financial services undertaken by banks, NBFCs, payment banks, and small finance banks. Under the referral services, banks are permitted to directly process third-party financial product transactions. Is it correct? Is it correct? What will be the answer to this particular question? थोड़ा सा देख लेते हैं. तो इसमें हम जो बात कर रहे हैं, that is basically related to the agency business versus the referral business. Agency में bank act as an agent. Referral में bank only redirects the customer to the bank. एक है बैंकिंग कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट, दूसरा है बैंकिंग फैसिलिटेटर या बैंकिंग रेफरेंस सर्विसेज जिसे कहा जाता है. उसके बाद अगर मैं बात करूं तो इसमें जो इंपॉर्टेंट है वो है बस ठीक है, बाकी तो सिंपल ही है. मतलब इसमें कुछ ज्यादा कंडीशंस है नहीं, ज्यादा कुछ कंडीशंस है नहीं. So it covers, ठीक है, डन 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 डन, ठीक है। मुझे लगता है कुछ और इसमें बताने लायक है, हाँ ये देख लेते हैं अगले क्वेश्चन में। द कोर बैंकिंग फंक्शन सच एज डिपॉजिट एक्सेप्टेंस मस्ट बी अंडरटेकन डिपार्टमेंटली by the bank itself. The core operation of the banking sector should be done by the bank itself. Is it correct? Yes sir, that is absolutely correct कि जो core operation है that is need to be undertaken by the bank only. उसके लिए you cannot go for any kind of outsider transaction. This is correct. Under the referral services, banks are permitted to directly process third-party financial product transaction. No, sir, they are only acting as a mediator. Banks are prohibited from investing in category 3 alternative investment funds. क्या है सर ये category 3, 1, 2? तो इसमें अगर मैं देखूं तो AIF में 3 categories हैं. RBI restrict maximum 10% to category 1 and category 2, and no investment is allowed by banks in the category 3 alternative investment funds as per the given conditions as per the announcement. तो उसके हिसाब से हमारी जो स्टेटमेंट है दिस इज करेक्ट. अ बैंक में स्पॉन्सर मोर देन वन असेट रिकंस्ट्रक्शन कंपनी विद प्रायर आरबीआई अप्रूवल. नहीं सर, एक ही एआरसी को यू कैन प्रमोट, यू कैन नॉट प्रमोट मोर देन वन एआरसी, अदरवाइज देयर विल बी अ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट. एग्रीगेट इन्वेस्टमेंट ऑफ 20% और मोर एट बैंक ग्रुप लेवल रिक्वायर्स प्रायर आरबीआई अप्रूवल. अगर आपका एग्रीगेट इन्वेस्टमेंट है greater than 20%, in that particular case you need RBI approval. Say yes or no, this is absolutely correct कि अगर बैंक का अगर हम बात करें ARC स्पॉन्सरशिप की तो रिस्ट्रिक्शन ओनली वन, बैंक ग्रुप होल्डिंग इज अप टू 20%. अगर इससे ज्यादा है then you need RBI approval for this. Greater than 20% RBI approval is required. Below 20% no RBI approval is required. Individual bank investment limit. ठीक है जी, maximum 10% and in one company and maximum 20% aggregate investment can be done. उससे ज्यादा अगर आप करोगे तो आरबीआई से अप्रूवल लेना पड़ेगा. सो कीपिंग दिस इन माइंड दिस इज ऑल्सो करेक्ट. तो इसके हिसाब से अगर हम चले तो आंसर क्या बनेगा सर? 2, 3, 5, which means B statement is the correct answer. So B statement is the correct answer for the given question. Moving on to the next one. Consider the following statement with respect to the amendment infrastructure lending and capital adequacy. मतलब अगर NBFCs they are providing loan for infrastructure projects, in that particular case there are certain benefits, certain I would say liberalizations have been announced. So let's talk about those liberalizations. So excessive exposure to single borrower, single sector, single business group, particular asset categories have been clearly mentioned. These are applicable from 1st of April 2026. It was introduced for differentiated risk treatment. So here we have the conditions for high quality infrastructure projects. Pehla, operational requirement, post operational for project operational for minimum 1 year, that is operational requirement. Construction phase should be completed, revenue generation should be started. Standard asset classification, no default, regular repayment, no financial stress. Protected revenue flow, predictable cash inflows, long-term contracts, toll concessions, as well as power purchase agreements have been done. Adequate financial stability, sufficient operational funds, ability to service debt, and stable future obligations. Then only they are called as high quality infrastructure projects. अब ये जो high quality infrastructure projects हैं, उनके केस में what are the conditions? So the conditions in this particular case would be standard earlier risk weight was 100%. Now the risk weight has reduced to 75% for high quality projects. Minimum 2% of loan repayment, and further it has reduced risk weight to 50% for high quality project with minimum 5% of loan repayment. तो अगर आपने 5% of loan repayment किया and you are a high quality project as the conditions I have just discussed, then in that case risk weight will be 50%. If it is high quality project but minimum payment is 2% only, then it will be considered as 75% for the risk weighted calculation. Loan renewals or loan review or renewals will be valid until 31st March 2027. This is going to be done. So existing lower risk weights allowed temporarily, applicable where new framework increases capital burden, or it will be applicable on all from 31st of March 2027. ठीक है, तो इससे होगा क्या सर, लेंडिंग कैपेसिटी बढ़ गई. किसकी लेंडिंग कैपेसिटी बढ़ गई सर? एनबीएफसीज की लेंडिंग कैपेसिटी बढ़ गई. So high quality infrastructure project must be operational for at least 1 year. Correct. A project classified as standard asset indicates regular payment performance. Correct. All qualifying high quality projects automatically receive 50%. No sir, 75 and 50 depending upon 5% and 2%. Pari-passu charge gives lenders equal legal claim over the project assets. This is correct. Transactional relaxation for existing loans is available up to 31st March 2027. तो भैया जो आपका existing loan है उनके लिए जो ट्रांजेक्शन करने का समय है, the transitional timeline is 31st March 2027 or whenever you are going to review the loan. So keeping this in mind, this is correct, this is correct, this is correct, this is correct. तो आंसर क्या बनेगा सर? 1, 2, 4, 5, which means B option is the correct answer. Which means B option is the correct answer. Moving on to the next question. अगला question क्या कहता है सर? Consider the following statement with respect to RBI's revised framework on risk weights of NBFCs. So the revised framework aims to encourage lending to the infrastructure projects. Correct. Framework becomes applicable from 1st of April 2026. Correct. NBFC exposure qualifies for 75% weight after 5% रीपेमेंट. नो सर, आफ्टर 2% रीपेमेंट. 5% के बाद तो 50% होगा. एनबीएफसी एक्सपोजर क्वालिफाई 50% आफ्टर 5% रीपेमेंट. करेक्ट. एग्जिस्टिंग लोअर रिस्क वेट्स मस्ट कंटिन्यू अंटिल नेक्स्ट रिव्यू और रिन्यूअल or 31st March 2027, whichever is earlier. This is correct. So answer is going to be 1, 4, 5. So answer to this particular question is 1, 2, 4, 5. B option is the correct answer. Sorry guys, there is no electricity at my end, so I have just switched off my camera. So if this answer is correct, just give me yes sir. If this statement is correct, समझ आ गया हो तो एक बार yes sir type कर दो in the comment section, then I'll move ahead. Is it done? चलो अगला क्वेश्चन पढ़ो. Give me the answer. चलो जी, coming back to the question. Question क्या कहता है? Sir, RBI has recognized FEDAI as an SRO for all the authorized dealers operating in the foreign exchange market. This is correct. The recognition was granted under RBI's omnibus framework for SRO. Correct. FEDAI has been given transition period of 5 years to align with the new framework. 5 years का transition period दिया गया क्या? I doubt. It's not 5 years. The transition period which is given, it's not for 5 years, rather this transition period is given for only 1 year. It's given for only 1 year. An SRO FEDI will set standards, promote best practices and monitor compliance among authorized dealers. This is correct. One of the eligibility conditions of an SRO is that there should be a minimum net worth of 2 crores within 1 year of recognition, and it is common. It is not only for in this condition. In any general case, if you are applying for an SRO, this is going to be fulfilled. So answer is going to be B option 1, 2, 4, 5 are correct, but the third statement is wrong. तो ये देख लो, इसमें अगर हम देखें for the authorized dealers, omnibus framework, long-term consistency, 1 year given to FEDI. FEDI functions under RBI, set standards, promote best practices, ensure ethical behavior, monitor compliance among authorized dealers, and act as link between RBI and market participants. Eligibility criteria for an SRO in general: must be a not-for-profit entity, must be registered under Section 13 of Companies Act 2013, minimum net owned fund 2 crores within 1 year of recognition, no single entity should hold more than 10% of paid up capital, must have adequate operational and technological infrastructure, officials must be fit and proper, and must all have transparent bylaws and sound governance practices. Okay, ji? Clear? Moving on to the next question. The next is, consider the following with respect to the Niryat Protsahan. So Niryat Protsahan is basically the initiative taken by RBI to promote exports. So in this case, scheduled commercial banks, excluding RRBs, urban cooperative banks, state cooperative banks, all India financial institutes are eligible. The guidelines relate to interest subvention. Subvention means subsidy on pre-shipment and post-shipment export credit. Niryat Protsahan, first component, it is the first component of export promotion mission. It is basically to reduce the cost of export credit for the MSMEs. Eligible MSMEs are the manufacturer, exporters and merchant exporters having valid and active exporter code and valid MSME उद्यम registration number. तो वो जो मैन्युफैक्चरर है, मैन्युफैक्चरर एक्सपोर्टर है या फिर मर्चेंट एक्सपोर्टर है, उसके पास वैलिड एंड एक्टिव इंपोर्टर एक्सपोर्टर कोड है और वैलिड एमएसएमई उद्यम रजिस्ट्रेशन नंबर है, दे आर अलाउड under this particular scheme. Subvention will be 2.75% per annum, applies to pre-shipment as well as post-shipment credit. Maximum benefit will be 50 lakh rupees per MSME exporter during the financial year 2025-26. अगर मैं export promotion mission की बात करूं, the outlay for this particular mission by the government for next 5 years is 25,000 crore rupees. Collateral support: solve collateral related challenges for MSMEs. CGT MSC will be the implementing agency. Coverage is 85% for MSMEs and 65% for medium exporters. Maximum outstanding guarantee which will be provided, that is going to be 10 crores per exporter in a financial year. I hope the entire news is correct. There are two sub schemes. One is Purushottam, other one is Niryat Disha. Okay. RBI issued the operational guidelines in January 2026. The interest subvention applies only to the post-shipment exports. Wrong. Interest subvention is 2.75. Correct. Maximum benefit available to a MSME exporter during financial year is 50 lakhs. Correct. RBI release operational guidelines only for interest subvention. No. Interest, it is Niryat Protsahan as well as Niryat Disha. So keeping that in mind, 1, 3, 4 are correct. 1, 3, 4 are correct, है ना? तो उसके हिसाब से आंसर तो कोई और ही होना चाहिए. यहाँ पे तो कोई ऑप्शन ही नहीं है. क्या गलती करी मैंने, एक बार चेक करना. I've done anything wrong over here? फिफ्थ स्टेटमेंट क्या है? RBI has released the operational guidelines. हाँ, RBI ने ऑपरेशनल गाइडलाइन सिर्फ इसी के लिए रिलीज की है, लेकिन दो स्कीम्स है इसके अंडर, प्रोत्साहन एंड दिशा. Niryat Disha is not, there is no announcement, there is no guidelines issued by RBI for the same. RBI has released the guidelines only for the interest subvention, not for the Niryat Disha. This is not done by RBI. Sorry, it's correct. So answer is going to be 1, 3, 4, 5. A statement is the correct answer. Next is, consider the following statement regarding the foreign exchange management Act Regulation 2026. What is this regulation all about? So these regulations are basically talking about RBI notified FEMA regulations cover export and import of goods and services. Legal basis is Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999. Effective date is 1st October. Replaces the earlier directions applicable on export transactions, import transactions, merchant trade transactions, goods, services, software exports, and service imports. Digital reporting, mandatory digital reporting is need to be done. Export transaction should be reported through EDPMS and import transaction should be reported through IDPMS. Reporting timeline is non-EDI port export entered into EDPMS. They should be reporting within 5 working days. Service export details uploaded to EDPMS and service import details should be uploaded to IDPMS. तो कितना टाइमलाइन है? 5 दिन का टाइम दिया जाता है. RBI references, all references will be routed through Pravaha. Export declaration form must mention full export value. Export realizations, export realization is 9 months earlier, but now it has increased to 15 months. But keeping in mind the current crunch of forex in the country, government is rethinking to go back to 9 months. INR invoicing and settlement should be done within 18 months. That has been clearly mentioned. So the answer to this particular question, let's try to discuss the answer. The regulation will come into force from 1st of October, correct? Export proceeds must be released, correct? Export invoiced and settled in Indian rupees are allowed a realization period of 18 months, correct? All references to RBI under these regulations must be routed through Pravaha portal. This is correct. Regulations designate to Directorate of Enforcement as primary monitoring authority for export and import. No sir, it's not the primary authority. अगर आप ध्यान से देखें, the primary authority, the monitoring will be done in this particular case. You need to remember the primary authority is not ED. ED will be involved later on. Suspicious transactions के लिए ED will be involved. Primary authority will be RBI. So answer to this particular question is going to be A statement. 1, 2, 3, 4 are correct. Moving on to the next question. Consider the following statement with respect to Reserve Bank of India, RBI Integrated Ombudsman Scheme. So this scheme came into force on 1st of July 2026, correct? Complaints can be filed directly before Ombudsman without first approaching to the regulated entity, not allowed. Ombudsman may be awarded compensation up to 30 lakhs for the financial loss and up to 3 lakh rupees for the harassment, that is correct. Customer interface NBFC with asset of at least 100 crores are covered under this scheme. Correct. The centralized receipt and processing center is located in Chandigarh. This is correct. So answer is going to be 1, 3, 4, 5 are the correct answers. इसको पढ़ के break ले लेते हैं. No worries, Rajesh. We'll take a break of 5 minutes. So why this scheme was needed? How it has been evaluated? Who all are covered under this scheme? Then applicable from 1st of July. Ombudsman कौन है, कब appoint होगा, कैसे appoint होगा? Complaints covered. Sir, complaints covered की अगर मैं बात करूँ, deficiency in services, delay in services, unfair practices, RBI direction violation, credit report error, payment failure. Who can file? Customer can file, applicant for service can file, and authorized representative can also file. Maintainability conditions. Complaint first made to regulated entity. No satisfactory reply within 90 days. Then complaint should be filed with integrated ombudsman within 90 days. Not pending elsewhere, then only it will be taken into the consideration by ombudsman. If it is a commercial decision or employer-employee dispute, inter-entity dispute, court-directed action or matter outside RBI jurisdiction will not be handled. You can file the complaint through an email. You can file the complaint through CMS model. You can even go directly to the CRPC office Chandigarh as well as to the ombudsman office. Investigation powers, they can call for your documents, adverse interference for non-corporation. If there is any issue, then your data will be safeguarded. It will not be openly presented, and sharing of documents between the parties is need to be done. So step 1, step 2 and step 3. ठीक है जी. If you are not happy with the award given by Ombudsman, you can raise your complaint within 30 days, and you will be raising your complaint within 30 days to the appellate authority. And who is the appellate authority? So the executive director of CEPD. To the executive director of CEPD, he or she will be the appellate authority, and the final decision and the decision given by the appellate authority will be final. You cannot challenge it overall. The banks, they should appoint principal nodal officer. Ombudsman detail will be displayed in the bank branch. English, Hindi and regional language displays need to be there, and website disclosure is also need to be there. This is all about the Ombudsman scheme. So keeping that in mind, the answer is going to be A option. Is it clear? Chalo. So this is correct. This is correct. So customer interface NBFC with asset size at least, deposit taking NBFC and customer interface NBFC, deposit taking NBFC regardless of the asset size, and customer interface NBFC with asset size greater than 100 crores is included. So answer is going to be what? Sir, A option, that is 1, 3, 4 are 5 are correct, but the second statement is wrong. You cannot go directly to the ombudsman. Okay. The next question is related to large exposure framework. So let's take a break. Let's take a break of 5 minutes. Let's take a break of 5 minutes and then we'll continue. मैं आपको बता दूं कितना बचा है. मैं आपको बताता हूं कितना हमारा अभी पेंडिंग है. So I'll just let you know. Almost we have 20 more circulars to go. Almost we have 20 to 25 more circulars to go. So I'm pretty sure you will stay with me in this session. So I will be right back after a break of 10 minutes. So abhi kya time hua hai, sir? It is 9:35. So let's start the session again at 9:40. Okay. 9:40 p.m. we will be starting the session again. So I'm just holding it. I'm just closing my camera as well as my audio. Okay. So I guess I'm audible. I guess I'm audible. Shall we start the discussion? Shall we start the discussion? Do reply in the comment section, please. I'm still waiting. Just give me a thumbs up. Okay. So let's go with the discussion. So it is basically related to the concentration risk management. So it basically talks about the large exposure framework, intergroup transactions and exposure, as well as repeal of the large borrower framework, which was already earlier existing. So eligible capital base changes. Tier 1 capital infused after published balance sheet can be considered, which means the effective tier 1 capital will increase for the large exposure framework, and current year profit may be included as per the or will be added under the tier 1 capital of large exposure framework. So इसमें क्या चीजें आपको याद रखनी है? Foreign in case of global systematic important banks, as well as in case of non global systematic important banks, there are certain limits. Exposure to if I talk about the exposures, in that case, if I talk about the exposure to HO and other global systematically important banks is allowed 20%, 25%, and exposure to non global systematically important banks is allowed to 25% and 20%. These are some of the facts which you need to remember. Rest we have already discussed. So tier 1 capital infused after the published balance sheet date may be considered while calculating the eligible capital under the large exposure framework. Yes sir, जो आपका tier 1 capital है उसमें include किया जाएगा. That is correct. Next point says current year profits accrued by Indian banks may be included as tier 1 capital for the LEF purpose. That is correct. Exposure of foreign banks Indian branch to its head office is completely excluded from the concentration risk limit. क्या ऐसा है कि सर fully exclude कर दिया from the concentration limit? No sir, that is not. Such exposures are not excluded. Rather, counterparty limits continue to apply, as I have discussed, for global systematically important bank and non-global systematically important banks. Existing intra-group exposure breaching revised limits must be brought within the limits within 6 months. अगर आपकी existing intra-group exposures breached हैं, तो you should be bringing them back into the limits within 6 months. This is correct. Next point says the framework enhancing credit supply for large borrowers through market mechanism stands repealed from 1st January 2026. This is correct. So answer to this particular question is 1, 2, 4 and 5 are the correct answer. अगला question देखो. The next question talks about the amendment modifies the foreign exchange. It is related to what? So this is basically related to the export and import amendment regulations. And this export and import amendment regulation basically talks about what? So it basically talks about the legal basis where we are dealing with the movement of currency between India and Nepal, as well as movement of currency between India and Bhutan. If I say eligible person other than citizen of Pakistan and Bangladesh are eligible. General route, Indian currency notes may be taken or may be sent. Restrictions, note above 100 denomination generally prohibited. Exemption is individual traveling from India to Nepal or Bhutan may carry above 100 rupees denomination up to 25,000. Import of Indian currency, person other than citizen of Pakistan and Bangladesh can import. General route is Indian currency notes may be brought to India. Notes above 100 rupee denomination are generally prohibited. Individual traveling to India from Nepal or Bhutan will carry notes above 100 rupee denomination up to 25,000 only. Permitted transactions, take Nepalese currency from India to Nepal. bring Nepalese currency into India from Nepal, take Bhutanese currency from India to Nepal, and bring Bhutanese currency into India from Bhutan. All these are eligible transactions. So keeping that in mind, the amendment modifies the Foreign Exchange Movement Regulation 2015, correct? Regulations 8 has been completely substituted and now deals with the movement of currency between India and Nepal. Yes, sir, it basically deals with the movement of currency between India and Nepal. This point is absolutely correct. The next point says Indian currency notes of denomination above 100 may be freely taken. No, sir. A person traveling from Nepal or Bhutan to India may carry Indian rupees above 100 rupee denomination up to 25,000. Correct. Citizens of Pakistan and Nepal are not eligible for this. This is correct. So answer to this particular question is going to be A option. Answer to this particular question is going to be A option. Is it clear? Moving on to the next one. The next question says, consider the following with respect to the basic saving bank deposit accounts. So in case of basic saving bank deposit account, every bank is required to offer basic saving bank deposit account. This is true. Whether you are a foreign bank, private bank, I don't care. You have to offer it. Minimum balance requirement may be imposed if additional facilities are availed by the customer. अगर customer कुछ additional facilities लेता है तो क्या उस केस में क्या मिनिमम बैलेंस रिक्वायरमेंट इंट्रोड्यूस किया जा सकता है? नहीं सर, दिस इज द कोर ऑफ द अकाउंट. अगर आपने कोर ही हिला दिया तो मतलब क्या? सर्विसेज मत दो ना, सर्विसेज देने से मना कर दो, बट यू कैन नॉट include or you cannot ask the customer to maintain minimum deposits or minimum deposit accounts. The digital payment transactions such as UPI, NEFT, RTGS, IMPS are not counted as withdrawals for BSBD accounts. They are not counted as withdrawals for BSBD accounts. अगर मैं BSBD accounts की बात करूं, we have 4 withdrawals per month, that is withdrawals through ATM. But UPI, NEFT, RTGS, IMPS, point of sale transactions, they are do not counted as 4 free withdrawal limit transactions. So this is correct. Customers can convert an existing saving account into BSBDA and bank must complete the conversion within 7 days. This is correct. भैया 7 दिन के अंदर अंदर बैंक को convert करना होगा. The customer cannot hold more than 1 BSBD account across the banking system. Correct. Because अब आपके आधार कार्ड को लिंक किया गया, you can only hold 1 zero balance account, not more than that. Next is credit information reporting. Now we know that the credit information are required, or the credit institutions, they are required to undertake weekly incremental reports based on 9th, 16th, 23rd and last day of every month. Correct. Full credit information files must be submitted by 5th of the following month. That is correct. उसके अलावा अगर हम बात करें the incremental files submitted within 4 calendar days from the relevant reporting date. This is correct. Credit information company must provide file level data quality index within 3 calendar days of receipt of data कि भैया आपका data कैसा था. That is correct. CICs are required to report non-compliance credit institutions on Daksh portal on quarterly basis. So they are required to inform or report on the Daksh portal only, but not on quarterly basis, rather on half yearly basis. तो भैया हर 15 दिन, हर हफ्ते पे you have to share the data, and now we have weekly reporting for the credit information companies in order to make the credit information data more responsive, more active in the economy like India. Next, we have consider the following statement with respect to non-operative financial holding company. A non-operative financial holding company is a non-deposit taking NBFC that holds shares of banking companies and other financial services. Yes, that is correct. Rather आप ये कहो कि अगर आपको एक बैंक बनाना उससे पहले you have to set up non-operative financial holding companies. Activities permitted under Section 6 of the Banking Regulation Act 1949 must be carried out through the bank itself. So जो activities हैं which are mentioned under Section 6, they are ought to be carried out by the bank only. This is correct. Bank cannot go for outsourcing. Mutual fund, insurance, pension fund management activities can be undertaken through subsidiaries, joint ventures or associates. That is correct. Prior RBI approval is mandatory before commencing portfolio management services through an NOFHC held subsidiary. क्या RBI के approval की requirement है इस केस में? Then my answer is no, sir. RBI approval is not required for specified special financial activities. अगर मैं कहूँ they are allowed to, or subsidiaries, joint ventures, associates are allowed to get into mutual funds, insurance, pension fund, investment advisory, portfolio management, and broking. So it comes under the already allowed activities. So this is not correct. RBI must be informed within 15 days of the board resolution approving specialized फाइनेंशियल एक्टिविटीज, ये बिल्कुल सही है सर। आरबीआई को इन्फॉर्म करना होगा आफ्टर बोर्ड हैज गिवन द अप्रूवल कि भैया आप अगर कोई फाइनेंशियल स्पेशलाइज फाइनेंशियल एक्टिविटी जो आपको अलाउ की गई है, जैसे कि पेंशन, म्यूचुअल फंड, इंश्योरेंस, इन्वेस्टमेंट एडवाइजरी, पोर्टफोलियो मैनेजमेंट या ब्रोकरिंग, अगर आप वो कर रहे हैं तो 15 दिन के अंदर आप इन्फॉर्म कर दो टू आरबीआई। दैट इज करेक्ट। सो आंसर टू दिस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन, ए ऑप्शन इज एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट। Moving on to the next one. So consider the following statement regarding RBI's KYC amendment directions. So RBI has come up with KYC amendment directions. So a bank that uploads customer record to CKYCR is responsible for verifying the customer's identity as well as address. ये बिल्कुल सही है। Bank downloading a current and prevention of money laundering act complaint KYC records from CKYCR need not re-verify the customer's identity and address. ये बिल्कुल सही है सर, ये बिल्कुल सही है, इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। कस्टमर रिस्क कैटेगराइजेशन मस्ट बी रिव्यूड एवरी 6 मंथ। सर कस्टमर रिस्क कैटेगराइजेशन को रिव्यू किया जाएगा विद इन 6 years। दिस इज करेक्ट। Banks must upload KYC of newly opened accounts to CKYC within 10 days. This is also correct. They are allowed to do that within 10 days. Periodic KYC updation for medium risk is done after 8 years. Low risk is done 2 years and high risk is done after 10 years. ठीक है, तो इसमें आपको याद रखना है 6 months important है, 10 days important है, उसके अलावा 2 years, 8 years, 10 years important है, and even 5 years भी important है. That is for record retention. That is for record retention period. That means bank should retain the period. Bank should retain the data for 5 years. This is also important. So keeping that in mind, A option is again correct, but the fifth statement is wrong. I hope it is clear. Moving on to the next question. अगला question क्या कहता है? The next question is related to RBI's credit risk management. So with respect to RBI's credit risk management, what all points have been discussed? So in this particular case, lending to the related parties includes funded credits, guarantees and investment in debt instruments but exclude equity investment. ये क्या है? If I talk about this entire news, it basically talks about what? Sir, it basically one second. It basically talks about the initiatives which have been taken by RBI. It says that if the lending is given or done by the bank to the related party, which include whether of credit in the form of fund or maybe guarantee or maybe investment in the debt instrument, but excludes the equity investments, this is correct. Lending to related party, ये correct है, इसमें कोई problem नहीं है. A person holding more than 5% paid up equity or voting rights in a regulated entity qualifies as a related person. This is correct. Materiality threshold are applicable even to full cash secured loans? No, sir. These thresholds, they are not applied to fully cash secured loans and interbank loans. This is wrong. Internal auditors must review compliance with related party lending rules at once every 3 months. ये बिल्कुल सही है कि सर जो internal auditors हैं, they must comply or they must review the compliance with related party lending rules at least once every 3 months. Existing related party loans that are not compliant with amended directions may continue till maturity but cannot be renewed or enhanced thereafter. Is it correct? ये बिल्कुल सही है कि सर जो चल रहा है उसको चलने दो, बट दोबारा उसको रिन्यू नहीं कर सकते. इसमें आपको याद रखना है 5% that is related to, I would say, related person equity, or voting rights. Then we have the next figure, that is 10%. So 10% is related party equity threshold. Related party equity threshold. Then we have 20%. So 20% is related party voting threshold. Related party voting threshold. Then we have 3 months internal audit. Then we have the next point, 25 crores. 25 crores. That is highest materiality threshold for large commercial banks as well as all India financial institutes. This is threshold for commercial banks and alternative all India financial institutes. ठीक है जी, क्लियर हो गई ये बात? I hope it is clear. Okay. तो आंसर क्या होगा इस क्वेश्चन का? So the answer to this particular question is A option. So mark the correct answer. चलो, moving on to the next point, that is RBI's internal ombudsman direction. This is very important. एक बार इसको पढ़ो and give me the answer. Thank you so much, Manish sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for the comment. Okay. So guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, do subscribe the channel. If you haven't hit the like button, do hit the like button quickly. So moving on to the next question. The next question is related to internal ombudsman. So internal ombudsman scheme related जो initiatives लिए गए हैं, those initiatives are with respect to what? So if I talk about these initiatives, these are with respect to what? In case of internal ombudsman, you need to understand few statements very carefully. The first is, sir, RBI internal ombudsman scheme was introduced or it was revised back in 2026. Internal ombudsman can receive directly or can directly receive complaints from the customer. No sir, internal ombudsman के पास जो complaint है वो बैंक की branch के through आएगी, directly customer से नहीं आ सकती. Non-deposit taking NBFCs with customer interface and asset size of greater than 5,000 crore or more are covered under the direction. This is absolutely correct. Bank with outlet greater than 10, banking outlet greater than 10, NBFC with asset size greater than 5,000 crore are included under this calculation. This is absolutely correct. Credit information company must refer complaints to the internal ombudsman within 15 days of receipts. सर अगर मैं बात करूं within 25 days of receipts, this is correct. An internal ombudsman must have at least 7 years of relevant experience. Internal ombudsman के पास 7 years का relevant experience होना चाहिए. This is correct. The maximum tenure of internal ombudsman will be 5 years. This is also correct. इसके अलावा there is 20 days, there is 25 days and there is 30 days. ये 3 days भी आपको याद रखने हैं. वो क्या कहते हैं? 20 days कहते हैं सर कंप्लेंट रेफरल. कंप्लेंट रेफरल मींस बैंक, एनबीएफसीज या पीपीआई. और पीपीआई के केस में मुझे याद आया, इन केस ऑफ पीपीआई द थ्रेशोल्ड इज 1 करोड़. पीपीआई थ्रेशोल्ड इज 1 करोड़. यू नीड टू रिमेंबर दिस. 5 years थ्रेशोल्ड, वो सही है. कंप्लेंट रेफरल जो दिया जाएगा, जो रेफर की जाएगी कंप्लेंट बाय बैंक्स, NBFCs and PPIs within, that is 20 days as threshold given. Complaint referral for credit information companies 25 days and final communication to the customer will be done within 30 days. So ये भी points आपको याद रखने हैं. So keeping that in mind, what will be the correct answer? सर इस केस में अगर हम देखें तो सिर्फ फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट हमारी गलत है, बिकॉज यू कैन नॉट डायरेक्टली गो टू द इंटरनल ऑम्बुड्समैन. रेस्ट ऑल द स्टेटमेंट्स आर करेक्ट. सो ए ऑप्शन इज द करेक्ट आंसर. अगला क्वेश्चन देखो. विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट रिगार्डिंग द आरबीआई डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन ऑफ ओवरसीज इन्वेस्टमेंट रेफरेंसेस आर करेक्ट? So overseas investment references, which of the following are correct? Then my answer to this particular question would be Overseas investment refers to the investment made by resident Indian in the foreign entity. So अगर Indian entity is investing outside India, that will be overseas investment. Procedural reform became effective from 1st of April 2026. This is correct. Next is routing of application to RBI offices is based on geographical location of investing company. No sir, it is based on routing. मतलब आप inform करेंगे RBI के respective office को, that will depend on these prefix. It will depend on the unique identification number prefix, and if the prefix is, let's say, AH, then you will go to Ahmedabad. That is a point. So this is wrong. Pravaha stands for Platform for Regulatory Application, Validation and Authorization. Correct. There is no change in overseas investment limit or FEMA permissions under the न्यू फ्रेमवर्क. यस सर, कोई चेंज नहीं हुआ, वो चेंज कुछ भी नहीं है. द परमिशंस एवरीथिंग इज स्टिल द सेम. बट जो आरबीआई अप्रूवल्स थे, अब उस केस में if there is a situation that you have to seek the permission from RBI, earlier you were going directly to the central bank. अब आप सेंट्रल बैंक पे ना जाकर उसके रीजनल ऑफिसेस पे जाएंगे in order to enjoy the benefits, in order to get the approvals. ठीक है, क्लियर. मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट. Which of the following is correct with respect to the investment fluctuation reserve? So with respect to investment fluctuation reserve, which of the following statement is correct? Sir, investment fluctuation reserve forms part of tier 2 capital. बिल्कुल sir, it was the part of tier 2 capital, but उसको हटा दिया क्योंकि उसकी जरूरत नहीं है. Already the reserves have been maintained. Next is RBI has discontinued investment fluctuation reserve requirement for scheduled commercial banks and local area banks. बिल्कुल सही है सर, इनके लिए discontinue कर दिया. Urban cooperative banks, they are asked to maintain at least 2%. No sir, they are asked to maintain 5%. और 2% किसके लिए? सर 2% इज फॉर RRBs. 2% इज फॉर RRBs. लेकिन अगर आप बात करेंगे अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स की, रूरल कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स की, फॉर देम वी हैव 5%. दिस इज रॉन्ग. अंडर द रिवाइज फ्रेमवर्क, IFR कंप्लायंस इज असेस्ड ऑन द बैलेंस शीट डेट रादर देन द कंटिन्यूअसली थ्रू आउट द ईयर. अब 31 मार्च को आपका जो IFR है उसे कैलकुलेट किया जाएगा और उसके अकॉर्डिंग अगर आपके पास कैपिटल है देन इट्स फाइन, बट देयर इज नो नीड टू मेंटेन एक्स्ट्रा रिजर्व्स. Revised framework seeks to harmonize IFR requirements across regulated entities. This is correct. तो आपकी हर एक regulated entity के लिए ये harmonized, एक uniform format होगा. So B option is the correct answer. Moving on to the next point. Just go with the next question, guys. Just go with the Okay, now let's move on to the next question. So bank will be required to disclose their common equity tier 1 capital ratio, leverage ratio, liquidity coverage ratio and risk weights assets on quarterly basis as per the proposed Basel III disclosure framework. That is correct. Pillar 3 disclosures are basically intended to strengthen, the market discipline through enhanced transparency. This is correct. Bank, they may omit material information from disclosures without providing any jurisdiction. ये गलत है सर, आप कोई भी information को omit नहीं कर सकते. If you are not sharing that information, you have to inform. Bank must maintain a dedicated regulatory disclosure section on their website. बिल्कुल सही है. The proposed framework is going to be implemented from 30th of September. That is correct. So B option is going to be correct. भैया अब banks will be coming up with quarterly disclosures as per the Basel III norms. That is absolutely correct. Moving on to the next question. Consider the following with respect to the RBI amendment directions on governance of cooperative banks. So with respect to governance of cooperative banks, which of the following is correct? Sir, a director completing 10 continuous years on the board of the cooperative bank must undergo a cooling off period of 3 years. This is correct. During the cooling off period, individual may continue to serve the same bank as at an advisory role. ना सिर्फ member बन के रह सकते हो या customer और कुछ नहीं. Amendment is linked to section 10 of Banking Regulation Act 1949. Correct. Banking Amendment or Banking Laws Act 2025 increase the maximum continuous tenure from 8 to 10 years. लेकिन if after 10 years you want, you can join some other bank as a director, उसमें कोई problem नहीं है, but same bank पे you cannot act as a director. That is correct. So answer is going to be B option for the cooperative banks. Moving on to the next question. Consider the following statement with respect to the draft Basel Pillar 3 disclosure norms. So Pillar 3 of Basel norms seeks to promote market discipline through enhanced disclosure. यही target है. Proposed norms will apply only to the listed commercial banks. So these norms will apply to standalone banks as well as the non-listed entities as well. Banks are required to establish a board-approved Pillar 3 disclosure policy. This is correct. One or more whole-time directors must provide written certification regarding compliance with disclosure requirements. कि सर अगर हम बात करें एक या एक से ज्यादा जो होल टाइम डायरेक्टर्स हैं उन्हें रिटन सर्टिफिकेशन देना होगा regarding the compliance that yes we are going to follow the disclosure requirements. If certain information is not disclosed due to any issue, then bank must explain the reason for such non-disclosure. बताना पड़ेगा, otherwise RBI will challenge the bank or penalty will be charged and even the license can be cancelled. Moving on to the next. Consider the following with respect to the amendment inclusion of quarterly profits in common equity tier 1 capital. RBI has removed the conditions that incremental NPA provisions should not deviate by more than 25% from 4-quarter average for inclusion. पहले क्या था कि सर अगर quarterly profit को include करना under common equity tier 1 capital, उसके लिए जो आपका NPA provision है that should not be greater than 25%. That should not be greater than, or I would say that should be within 75 to 125% of 4-quarter average. तो अगर आपकी जो करंट क्वार्टर की एनपीए प्रोविजनिंग है, इफ इट इज विद इन 75 टू 25%, इसका मतलब क्या, अगर 4 एवरेज को मैं 100 मान रहा हूं तो उससे ना तो 75% कम ना ही 25% ज्यादा, तो डेविएशन नहीं होना चाहिए 25% से ज्यादा. तो अगर 25% से ज्यादा का डेविएशन नहीं है तभी आप उस क्वार्टरली प्रॉफिट को ऐड करेंगे, अदरवाइज नॉट. बट अब आरबीआई ने कहा सर इसका कोई मतलब नहीं है, इस कंडीशन को हटा दो. तो आरबीआई ने इस कंडीशन को अब हटा दिया. दिस इज करेक्ट. The amendment applies to commercial banks, small finance banks as well as payment banks. Yes sir, absolutely true. This amendment applies to all of them. Eligible profit for tier 1 capital inclusion is calculated after adjusting for a portion of average dividend payout, which will be calculated as eligible profit is equals to equals to earned profit minus 1/4 dividend into time. तो ये है वो प्रॉफिट विच इज एलिजिबल. तो यहाँ पे आप कह लो टोटल प्रॉफिट, जो भी कह लो ना, इसको ऐसा लिख सकता है. Quarterly profit can be included in tier 1 capital even if quarterly financial inclusion statements are neither audited. ना बिना ऑडिट के नहीं हो सकता. Cumulative net losses up to an end of quarter must be deducted from common equity tier 1 capital. तो जो भी आपके अब तक के net losses हैं, you have to exclude them from the profit or from the tier 1 capital before making the calculation of requirements कि tier 1 capital कितना होना चाहिए. That is correct. So answer is going to be B option. Answer is going to be B option. ठीक है जी. Next, the next is related to specified non-financial asset. A specified non-financial asset refers to an immovable property acquired by a lender for a borrower in settlement of debt. That is correct. बैंक अगर किसी को लोन देता है, लोन नहीं आया, उसकी प्रॉपर्टी बैंक के पास आ गई, दैट इज स्पेसिफाइड नॉन फाइनेंशियल असेट, विच इज एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. Second is SNFA must be initially recorded at higher of the net value. No sir, lower of the net book value of the loan या फिर distress sale value of property. Book value क्या है? Net book value, that is outstanding minus provisioning, and here I would say distress means जिस पे आप bare minimum उसे market में बेच सकते हैं. Distress value must be assessed by at least 2 independent external valuers, correct? RBI proposes that SNFA should generally be disposed of through public auction. बिल्कुल सही है कि सर इसे public auction से ही dispose of किया जाएगा, not by any other means. A lender may freely sell SNFA back to original borrower, no, and after 7 years, SNFA will become the property of bank if it is not settled. If it is not settled, तो आंसर क्या बनेगा? Sir, answer to this particular question will be 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4 are correct. Achha, second is wrong. So answer is going to be 1, 3, 4. B option is the correct answer. अगला क्वेश्चन देखो. अगला क्वेश्चन है RBI directions on the disbursement of government pension by agency banks. Agency banks are appointed by RBI to conduct government banking business including pension payouts. Correct. एक साल में कितनी ट्रांजेक्शन्स? 14 ट्रांजेक्शन्स. पर ट्रांजेक्शन कितने पैसे? 80 रुपए पर ट्रांजेक्शन मिलेंगे. आई होप दीज आर करेक्ट. बैंक मस्ट वेट फॉर सेपरेट RBI इंस्ट्रक्शंस बिफोर इंप्लीमेंटिंग गवर्नमेंट ऑर्डर्स रिलेटिंग टू DNS अलाउंस. नहीं, जैसे ही आया ऑर्डर इंप्लीमेंट कर दो. जीवन प्रमाण इज द बायोमेट्रिक बेस्ड डिजिटल लाइफ सर्टिफिकेट सिस्टम फॉर पेंशनर्स. करेक्ट. बैंक मस्ट प्रोवाइड automatic compensation at 8% per annum if pension payout is delayed due to bank's fault. Correct. A spouse eligible for pension may continue to receive pension in the existing account. Correct. अगर पेंशन अमाउंट बैंक ने ज्यादा दे दी, अगर पेंशन अमाउंट बैंक ने कस्टमर को ज्यादा ट्रांसफर कर दी, तो बैंक उस अमाउंट को कंपनसेट करेगा टू द गवर्नमेंट फर्स्ट, और उसके बाद ट्राई करेगा कि कस्टमर से कैसे वापस लेनी है. अब मान लो कि भैया पेंशन डिपार्टमेंट ने ही बैंक को जो लिस्ट दी उसमें ऑलरेडी ज्यादा था, तो उसमें बैंक की गलती नहीं है. बैंक उसमें सिर्फ हेल्प करेगा टू दी गवर्नमेंट, टू दी डिपार्टमेंट की कैसे उसे रिकवर किया जा सकता है, पर अपनी जेब से पे आउट नहीं करेगा. ये भी एक पॉइंट है जो आपको याद रखना. सो आंसर इज गोइंग टू बी बी ऑप्शन. ठीक है जी. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, RBI अमेंडमेंट डायरेक्शंस. So quarterly profit must be included in common equity tier 1 capital only if quarterly financial statements are audited. Correct. Eligible profit inclusion is adjusted using average dividend payout during the previous 3 financial year. Correct. Under the liberalized remittance scheme, a resident individual may permit up to $250,000 to be remitted per financial year without RBI approval. Foreign currency notes up to $2,000 must be retained by a returning traveler. That is correct, but up to 180 days, sorry. RBI approval is required for consultancy remittance exceeding $10 million per project for infrastructure projects. Correct. $1 million for other projects. In that case, RBI approval is required. So answer is going to be B option. Is it clear, everybody? Is it clear? So move on to the next question. So we have the RBI master direction on money changing activities. So go through with this particular question and give me the answer. So go through with this particular question and give me the answer. I'm pretty sure that you can give me the answer for this particular question. Try it. This is the last question of the evening, guys. तो देखते हैं कौन कौन इसे सही आंसर कर पाएगा. सर, RBI has prohibited entering into fresh franchise arrangement for restricted money changing activities. Correct. Existing franchise arrangements or agreements must be discontinued within 2 years. Correct. Currency declaration form is required if foreign currency exchange brought into India is greater than $10,000. If it's in cash, it is more than $10,000. Correct. FFMC may write off fake currency notes up to $5,000 per financial year without RBI approval. No sir, this is not allowed. This is not allowed. सिर्फ अगर आप अलाउड की बात करेंगे तो $2,000 तक के अलाउड है, इससे ज्यादा नहीं. मैक्सिमम लिमिट फॉर फिजिकल मूवमेंट of Indian currency during election period is 10 lakh rupees. That is correct. So answer is going to be 1, 2, 3 and 5 are the correct answers. I hope it is clear. Each and every point is clear. तो मुझे लगता है कि जितने भी सर्कुलर्स हमने डिस्कस किए दे आर क्रिस्टल क्लियर। कुछ सर्कुलर्स ऐसे हैं जो मैंने हटा दिए, बिल्कुल लेटेस्ट सर्कुलर्स हैं मई मंथ के, वो मैंने हटा दिए, वो आप पीडीएफ में से रिवाइज कर लीजिएगा। बाकी जो पुराने सर्कुलर्स थे, आई हैव helped or I have tried my level best to make you understand each and every circular, and I'm pretty sure it is clear to you। एक quick revision मिल गया, पूरा detailed revision मिल गया। अब अगर कोई question examination में आएगा then surely you will be in a position to answer them। If you have enjoyed the discussion, do tell me in the comment section, and if you want me to take up any other session before you go for RBI Grade B exam, or if you want me to take up any video before you go for RBI Grade B examination, then you can write down in the comment section. I will be taking your request very seriously, and I will be coming up with a session or a video if required, by tomorrow itself, so that it can help you a lot for before you go for the examination. Thank you so much. Don't forget to leave comment in the comment section so that I can get to know what is the feedback from your side of this particular session. And if you have any request, any suggestion, any feedback, any demand from me before you go for the exam, do let me know in the comment section. I will be taking up that session as well. Thank you so much for joining. We'll catch you soon. Bye bye. Take care. Good luck. God bless you all.